All right, you guys, here we are. It is June 8th, 2024, and it is about effing time. We do another one of these. It's a top 25 debate. They get really, really messy. There's so many games that need to be discussed today. Listen, and a quick shout out to Looper, because Looper is the one who put all this together and said this is the way I think this should be done. I think he's been talking about this for literally years, saying I think I've got a better way to do your top 25 list. A lot of people say this stuff. Looper actually came through with like here's the answer. So if it doesn't work, we got someone to blame. You guys know all my co-hosts. We've got AJ from PSVR Underground. We've got Miles from youtube.com/Miles. We've got Wes from our sister channel, Virtual Strangers. I don't know why I love calling it that. Probably because it pisses some people off out there. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I want to do a quick little roundtable discussion, as we get this thing started, about, as Wes was saying before we even started the stream, like it was just a different process this time around. It felt like a very different list to make than it did just 6 months ago or whenever it was when we did this last time. Wes, tell me a little bit about that.
So last time, it was a kind of a tedious process to get down to 25. I remember I had something like 40 to 50 good games in the library, and I needed to narrow it down. And it was tough to narrow down, but there was like 3 tiers, right? So like there was like the 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 tier of must-have great games. There was like an 8 through 15 or 8 through 17, 18, something like that, of very good games. And then there was like a 18 through 25, which were games that were mostly, personal favorites, that sort of thing. This time around, I'm listing the great to very good games, and I had like 30, 32 or something of them like that. So it was kind of easy to narrow down to 25, but I feel like it's going to be even harder to kind of rank out the top 10 or even 15 this time.
Yeah, I agree. AJ, did you have a similar experience doing this?
Yeah, I mean, these are always tough because we all know good and well that there's more than 25 games that deserve to be here. It really should be a larger list, but but that's just like, hopefully we can just narrow it down to being the best of the best, and that kind of just illustrates like when there's a game that doesn't make it to the list, hopefully that shows like, well, that's just a testament to how good this library is, how strong it is, like when it comes to the best game. So yeah, this one I approached a little bit differently. I kind of just knowingly put it together in a way that was like, well, we're all going to be working together anyway. So I didn't really focus on making the perfect list because it's just going to get torn apart anyways. So it was actually a little bit easier, a little bit quicker for me this time. And I figured we'd get all the work done here today with you guys.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to be calling in a lot of help from the chat. This is always something important to us to make sure that it's not just, I don't want to make a list and have to be like, oh, just what Brian thinks. Oh, it's all horror games, right? I want to make sure that it's well rounded. And I got you guys here, but then also the chat to chime in to basically have the most well rounded list we can possibly make. And yeah, it's gonna be really really difficult, especially because I saw Miles's list. Miles, how the hell did you come up with that list? This is like, and everybody's list is scrolling on the screen, but we'll rattle through them after we hear from Miles.
Yeah, this one was difficult, but I did get through it the quickest because I think, as AJ alluded to, you can very easily overthink it. And what I love about this channel is it's a real coming together of perspectives. I'm not someone that has an ego of like my top 25, it's undisputed and all this sort of stuff. We all come from very different perspectives. I mean, last night I did my 200th Let's Play. And so in some ways, like, I have a good experience of even the not so good, which obviously isn't very helpful for a top 25 list. But on the flip side, many of you guys have actually played a lot of the games that might be on my list where you played them right through to the end and I haven't. And what will often come in the conversations in the chat, and this is the whole thing with online discourse, is people have different like propositions of what makes a game worth a top 25 list. And so we all have our own characteristics for it. For me, there were games that didn't make my top 25 list, which could have easily been a top 10 list. It's been just very, very difficult. And so for me, it was a question of having a well-rounded 25 list that really caters for the full celebration of what PSVR 2 has to offer.
Yep. And also, this is something that came up last time, just so everyone's aware of how this is working. Because Red Matter 1 and Red Matter 2 feel like kind of extensions of the same game in the sense, in the same way that Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 feel like extensions of the same game. Moss Book 1 and 2. Yeah. I mean, so these, we decided in order to, not take up as many spots as possible, in order to get as many games mentioned as possible, that these games will share a spot on the list. So if Red Matter makes it, Red Matter 2 makes it by default, and we just say the Red Matter series when the list gets done. The one exception to that, which if it was up to me, I would have included this as the same thing, but the community was very, very outspoken, saying Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil Village are two radically different games and deserve two different spots on the list, which I am totally fine with. Again, like they do feel like very different games. So I understand where people are coming from, but that is how we're going to do it. Guys, my tackle.
I'm going to say I'm going to be interested just to see how that comes out, how you guys feel about 4 versus 8 and vice versa.
Me too. I gave it some deep thoughts as I was making my list earlier this morning. Alex and TD, welcome to the level 1 membership. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Salvador with the level 3 membership says, all right, I want a clean debate. No tie pulling, no beanie grabbing, no swinging your 18 inches of venom around, and no teaming up with your mom. Let's go. Thank you, Salvador.
Wonderful.
Alejandro D. Catallergic Game Cat with the level 3 membership says, I caught up with Wednesday's episode yesterday, and I have to say, AJ the fuck out of Max Mustard, and I'm usually on AJ's side. Having said that, it's awesome to have you all 4 on a stream. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here on what should be a day off for all of us.
I have to remind myself not to go on too long and get a 10-minute backstory for what I'm trying to say. I'll be concise to the point. I'll be better about that, Alhembe.
Somebody dropped a code on our Discord this morning. It was a discount code for Max Mustard, 90% off, and verified to work too. It makes the game like less than $3. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Wait for the PSVR 2 version. Shen Miyazo with the 5 quid says, cough, stilt, cough. Yeah, heard. I'm on your side, Shen Miyazo. I think a lot of us are. Waleed is now a game cat. Right here, specifically White Tiger with the Canadian $2 tip says, Brian, where the hell is Pavlov? I am rioting.
You're already getting flagged.
Fuck Pavlov. Just kidding. Oh, God. I'm getting canceled. All right, guys. So literally, I want this done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
AJ, give me your top 25.
All right. At number 25, we've got Stilt, Shen Miyazo. At number 24, we've got Cube. At number 23, Ghost Signal. At number 24, Hubris. Wait, I went up, I think. 25, 24, 23, 22, Hubris. 21, Runner, baby. We back. Number 20, VR Skater. Number 19, Vertigo 2. Number 18, Vampire, the Masquerade Justice. Number 17, Propagation Paradise Hotel. Number 16, even though I hate puzzle games, I had to include the 7th guest. Number 15, Crossfire, Sierra Squad, totally underrated. Number 15, Walkabout Mini Golf, kind of low for some people probably. Number 14, Hellsweeper VR, finally makes this list because it got the DFR update and it's so cool. Number, 14, Demio. I should have put numbers with these really, so I knew where I was. Let's see here.
So that's why I retyped them and resubmitted them to you in order.
25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13.
All right, when we're still doing this at 7 p.m., we're blaming AJ.
And number 12, we've got Demio. At number 11, Synapse. At number 10, Pavlov. At number 9, Moss, Book 2 and Book 1 and 2, Electric Boogaloo. At number 8, Red Matter 1 and 2. At number 7, Saints and Sinners Chapters 1 and 2. At number 6, Madison VR, scariest game I've ever played. At number 5, Legendary Tales has made it to my top 5, guys. Number 4, Resident Evil 4 Remake. At number 3, No Man's Sky, still amazing. Number 2, Resident Evil Village. And number 1 and 2 have flip-flopped because number 1 now has been Gran Turismo 7, the flagship PlayStation VR2 title. Let me go ahead and tell you 20 minutes now all about it.
All right, I'm going to do mine because I want to show you guys how this is done. Real quick, we've got 25 Switchback, 24 Green Hell VR, 23 Hubris, 22 Horizon Call of the Mountain, 21 Beat Saber. Don't forget Beat Saber exists. 20 is Cosmo Dread, 19 Synapse, 18 Vertigo 2, 17 Galaxy Kart, 16 Demeo, 15 Crossfire Sierra Squad, 14 Propagation Paradise Hotel, 13 Song in the Smoke, 12 Stilt, 11 Red Matter, 10 Saints and Sinners, both, 9 VR Skater, 8 Walkabout Mini Golf, 7 Legendary Tales, 6 Madison VR, 5 Ancient Dungeon. I'm so disappointed with you guys. 4 No Man's Sky, 3 Resident Evil 4, 2 Resident Evil Village, 1 Gran Turismo 7.
Oh, shit. Wow.
You know, I have a question, Brian.
Talk to me.
And Looper, whoever controls the rule book. I just realized that I did not put Switchback on my list at all. And that was not intentional.
Well, Wes, why don't you tell us what you did put on the list?
Okay, so I'm going to do 26 then,
It's fine.
and tell you where Switchback would go on my list. Oh no, here it is. I found it. Damn it, I did put it on there. All right, cool. False alarm. Sorry about that, everyone. 25 Vampire the Masquerade Justice. 24 Propagation Paradise Hotel. 23 Walkabout Mini Golf. 22 Song in the Smoke Rekindled. 21 The Seventh Guest VR. 20 Arizona Sunshine 2. 19 Crossfire Sierra Squad. 18 Hubris. 17 Genotype. 16 Demeo. 15 Moss Book 2. 14 No Man's Sky. 13 Hell Sweeper VR. 12 The Dark Pictures Switchback VR. 11 The Light Brigade. 10 Horizon Call of the Mountain. 9 Legendary Tales. 8 Synapse. 7 Red Matter 2. 6 Vertigo 2. 5 Madison VR. 4 Resident Evil 4. 3 Gran Turismo 7. 2 The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2. And 1 Resident Evil Village.
Thank you, Wes. Also, I'm sure everyone saw the message from Looper in the chat. Please refresh your tier maker websites to have the most accurate one we have. All right, Miles, give it to me.
I love that you had No Man's Sky and not Switchback.
I did have Switchback. I missed it because I put the Dark Pictures and I was looking for Switchback and it didn't say
We won,
that.
cats. We won.
But I did have No Man's Sky, which is a big W for you because
Yes, it
this is one of the few concessions I made with my own list.
I put Seventh Guest on there. I fucking hate that game, but it's really good.
You hate it? Yeah. All right. Well,
I hate playing
I'm
it.
sure
really
we'll be
good.
talking about that in just a little bit. I don't even know. I think I took mine off to make room for Cosmo Dread. Sorry for all the sirens on my end, but Miles, take it away. You're the last one.
Sure. At 25, I got Cosmonius High. 24 Moss. 23 Breaches. 22 Propagation Paradise Hotel. 21 Barbaria. 20 Zombieland Headshot Fever Reloaded. 19 Tetris Effect Connected. 18 VR Skater. 17 Pavlov VR. 16 Crossfire Sierra Squad. 15 Knock Bow and Arrow Soccer. 14 Stilt. 13 Beat Saber, 12 Horizon Call of the Mountain, 11 Synapse, 10 Legendary Tales, 9 Madison VR, 8 Puzzling Places, 7 Red Matter 1 and 2, 6 Resident Evil Village, 5 No Man's Sky, 4 Resident Evil 4, how poetic, 3 The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, 2 Walkabout Mini Golf, and 1 Koi Koi, no, not Koi Koi, Gran Turismo 7.
Excellent. All right, guys. So here's how this is going to work. A lot of people missed the bracket system the last time we did this. People thought it was a little too easy. Just go, well, which game's better, this game or this game? And so a lot of games did not go head to head the way that we wanted to. So here's how it's going to work. We've got this entire pool of games to choose from. Every game that everybody mentioned is in the pool. And then we create the brackets. We go down. We start at the top and make our way down. And games along the way get slowly eliminated. There will be ride or dies for anybody who's seen this before. That way, last minute, we can all save one game. But that will be in the 21 through 25 bracket when we're all desperately clinging on to multiple games that won't make the list. So it'll be a good time. Let's do this. You guys ready? So excited.
Let's go.
Let's
Ring the bell.
ready
Ding, ding.
to rumble.
All right. So of course we're going to do this in the easiest way we possibly can. I think a lot of people had very, very similar top fives. So is anybody in objection to bringing Gran Turismo 7 into the top 5 bracket?
I do not object.
Nope.
Wes?
No, I said no.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
Okay.
same. Okay, good.
I was the first one. I was the first one to say it. Thank you.
You said it before it was cool to say it. Yeah.
All right. So I guess the big question is, did everyone else have Resident Evil 4 and Village in their top 5 as well?
Yes.
Yes, I had both of those.
Yeah.
Guys, we're killing it.
These are just easy S tier
Right.
games. The order may differ, but
Actually, Village was not my number 6, but I'm happy to have it in there.
Excellent.
Sounds like a bunch of number 2 to me. Anyway.
Wes, your microphone's crackling. That wasn't happening before the show. I don't know what's happening now, which is very strange.
Yeah, I don't know. This is another one of those things. I bought a new microphone, or rather, I was gifted a brand new, very expensive microphone. I can try to switch to another USB port. I really don't know what else to do about it at this point. I think I'm going to have to maybe buy a dedicated sound card, because this just keeps happening no matter which microphone I use or which port. So apologies, everyone.
no worries. It's not that bad.
Hopefully it's an internet issue. As I just mentioned to you guys before we went on the air, I'm about to upgrade in 2 days to a much faster internet connection with new router, new modem. Maybe that's the source of my issues. I don't know.
Guys, so I have these first 3 to get into the first bracket were super easy because we all had them in there. I think this is where it starts to get complicated. I had No Man's Sky and Ancient Dungeon as my 4 and 5. Who else has No Man's Sky in their top 5?
I have No Man's Sky.
I do.
Okay.
Wes does not.
Wes, what do you get going on in your top 5, man? What haven't we talked about yet? What are the 2?
All right. I think Madison VR, and what's the other one? Saints and Sinners.
Excellent.
Saints and Sinners is in my top 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It was my number 3.
Number
I
3.
had
Go ahead.
my other 2 are No Man's Sky and Legendary Tales. I would be willing to swap Legendary Tales with Saints and Sinners, maybe. I mean, since you guys had Saints and Sinners in your top 5, and 3 of us had, or Brian, where did you have No Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky is number 4 for me. It's not my
Okay.
kind of game, but I recognize that it's a big, important, awesome game for people.
And where'd you have Saints and Sinners?
10.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listen,
really?
listen,
So
listen.
3 of us have No Man's Sky, and 3 of us have Saints and Sinners in top 5. What are the other?
So
My standout is Legendary Tales.
so okay, listen,
Mine is Madison.
where does okay, listen, I think I really feel like Madison, Legendary Tales. I mean, these I'm saying I feel like because this is how they show up on my list. But I feel like Madison, Legendary Tales, like these are games that absolutely deserve to be like top 10 and no question about it.
Yeah.
But do they fall in the top 5? So hold on a second. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring Madison and Legendary Tales and Saints and Sinners Retribution and No Man's Sky. I'm bringing all of these up because these are all in consideration. And Looper right now is laughing at me because he had an interesting plan for this. I know he's laughing at me. So I brought all these up for consideration because whatever these 4 games don't make it into the top 5 are definitely making it 6 to 10. Agreed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I had Walkabout Mini Golf in my top 5 as well.
I know what AJ, you had that really low, right?
Yeah.
I had it low as well, 23.
Wow. Okay. So we won't.
I need to put. Yeah. Let's see here.
And this always takes a little bit to get into the groove here. So I'm just looking through all of these games that we've got so far. And can we talk about Ancient Dungeon for a second? Where do you guys have Ancient Dungeon? And if you don't have Ancient Dungeon, you may see yourself out.
Yeah, it didn't make mine. It was my top 30, but not top 25.
AJ, you don't have.
I love that game, but I have criticisms of it. But that's
I think it's a great game, but it didn't make my list. There's lots of great games that didn't make my list, Brian.
Yeah, no, I do. I understand. This ends up having to be my ride or die. I'm going to be so upset. Like, my 10 out of 10.
Is.
I have a feeling it might be. Right, or I'm going to be Venmoing you guys money the entire time. One or the other.
The most logical thing that I can see from here, I had Walkabout as 14, so it's in the middle of the list for me. Yep. The most logical thing I can see here is just on a voting presence or where these are present on our individual list. Mm-hmm. To me, it looks like No Man's Sky and Saints and Sinners need to be top 5, and then Legendary Tales, Madison need to be 6 in the 6 through 10.
Yeah,
agreed.
Wes, do you disagree with that, or are you okay with it?
No, I'm fine. I can see why Madison wouldn't be at the top of the list, because to be honest, if Madison didn't have a few technical issues, it probably would have been number 1 on my list. But it is a horror game. It does have some technical stuff that was in the flat game for that matter, some of it. So I can definitely see.
When making my list, a lot of this, and this has been a new focus on my channel as well, is like it's about the experience that these games bring. That's what I use to define my list a lot. Was like, there's lots of great games, but like, what are the ones that really have something unique that stand out? Whether and a lot of that has to do with being in VR. Mostly, it's all about like VR, like immersion, things like that. And yeah, that's why my list features a lot of new games this time around. And yeah, like, Saints and Sinners is a benchmark VR title forever. I mean, it's the only game I've ever on my channel given a 10 out of 10. And No Man's Sky, also probably a 10 out of 10. I love Legendary Tales. I've got a personal love for that game. And I love Madison. Madison's like one of the scariest games I've ever played. One of the most fun, scary experiences I've ever had. But yeah, like Wes said, to find something to kind of figure out where it goes, you have to kind of bring in some of the small little technical things that they have here and there.
I mean, yeah, agreed. Listen, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. I love a Village. I love RE4, but like, Madison tells a story that I actually care about, right? It introduced characters that I actually care about. And I cannot say that about Village and RE4. Like when I played those games the second time, I skipped through the cutscenes, and I would never skip through anything in Madison again. Like I've really, really enjoyed like learning about the characters and learning about what happened in the backstory and all that. So Madison could easily be a number one for me, but yeah, we definitely have to knock it down a little bit because of a few technical issues here and there.
Which we could apply to some of the other games too. It's not
course.
super fair, but it's a tough one.
But it's a limited experience, right? I mean, it's like you're confined in the house the whole time. It is pretty linear for the most part. You know, there's no weapons, there's no combat, there's no crafting system. It's a more simple, straightforward game in its presentation. And so, you know, so I think when you've got that, everything you have has to be kind of perfect, right? And when it's competing with other games that have much more stuff going on.
I know I just said all that, but I actually kind of disagree a little bit. Like, to me, it's not necessarily about, well, this has this flaw or this has this flaw. It's just what do we think is overall better?
Right.
And that's just the case here. Both are Madison and, like, let's say Resident Evil 4 are amazing must-play games, must-experience games. Resident Evil 4 has, like, you know, flat cutscenes, has a third-person mode. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, the overall package, the overall experience is just, that's what we got to go by kind of here, is like the strengths of it versus the weaknesses. Because honestly, pointing out some of the weaknesses are kind of aside from the point of some of these games. You know,
Right.
I don't care about the technical way design things with Madison so much as how much I was shitting myself and having fun at the same time.
I mean,
I agree with the sentiment there.
yeah.
I kind of took a bit of a different approach putting my list together this time as well, and it was very similar to what you just described, AJ. It's just don't overthink it.
Yeah.
What's best? Because what occurred to me was that last time when we started going head to head, that's how we voted anyway. We just voted for what games were the best, and we didn't really try to consider any of this other BS. So
Yeah.
that's how I put my list together this time. Because like I said at the top of the show, this library is amazing, and there's so many great games in it now
Right.
that it really is kind of pointless to sit and parse and count all of these little smaller things.
Right. Well, when it comes to games that we just absolutely love, and, like, you know, when we kind of have to tear them down a little bit in order to figure out, you know, I think we're gonna be tearing them down a little bit when it comes to the specific order they fall in, right? But I don't think we're quite there yet. All right, guys. So now we've got two games in our 6 to 10 category, or 6 to 10 bracket. What other games should be up for consideration here in 6 to 10?
Well, just to be clear, we went with The Walking Dead in the first bracket and No Man's Sky.
Yep.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Both Resident
And
Evils and
Village.
Gran Turismo.
Yep. So now in 6 through 10, we already have Madison and Legendary Tales. This list is already getting exciting.
For real.
Let's see here. 6 through 10.
Yeah, let me check my list here. So, man,
I mean, I'll say for this one, I got Red Matter 1 and 2 for 6 to 10.
100%.
mine's at 11, but I'm absolutely happy with that. But listen, VR Skater. I gotta make a plea for VR Skater before we go any further, because I really do think this is something that, like, way different than most things that we get in VR. You know, it was not only a workout, it was a learning experience, and I felt like the learning experience took just as long as learning to actually skate. It was just like this such a satisfying learning experience. Whereas, like, I feel like I learned an actual skill. You know what I mean? And I just love how versatile it is. Yes, it's not perfect. There's a lot of things you can't do in VR Skater, but there's, like, nothing else like it on the platform. And so I just really want to make a push for that to be in 6 through 10 if possible.
Well, I know I would just par that, and that's one of the reasons in my 6 to 10 was Puzzling Places. I'm not into puzzling games, but that is a game I've spent 3 hours in. They've increased the resolution with patches. They've added multiplayer, and I've spoken about this experience quite a lot. At Christmas time, I always take my PSVR2 or whatever VR headset I've got to my parents, show the family. And there was this moment where I showed him Puzzling Places, and as he was playing it, he just uttered the words, "This is the best thing I've ever experienced." And, like, you know, I grew up as a gamer with him. He doesn't do as much anymore. And I realized that when it comes to VR, one of the criteria, not the only, is what can VR let you experience that you can't in any other gaming medium? And, like, puzzles, obviously flat and stuff. Puzzling Places, you're literally piecing together 3D like drone scans of real places. They keep adding content every month. They keep adding onto it. The resolution's incredible. And this is not me saying it has to be 6 to 10, but like VR Skater, which I had as number 18, Puzzling Places was not in my top 25 last time. And with these recent updates, I'm just like, this is a phenomenal game, which is a must experience, I would say, for any people. So VR Skater and Puzzling Places are ones that, for those reasons, even though I have Puzzling Places in 6 to 10, I don't think it should fit here now, but these are things that I think should fit in the top 25 somewhere for those reasons.
Yeah.
Right, and I can appreciate that approach to it. That that you want to try to get it on the list before the end of the day. But at the end of the day, these two great games, neither of them charted for me at all. Like neither of those are even on my list because there's so much better games. Now, VR Skater, I think is very great. It's very original, like you pointed out, Brian. There's nothing else quite like it. And on the one hand, the challenge is cool. It's cool that you have to really put in the time and practice. And it's cool that they were able to recreate through physical movement a very accurate simulation of a skateboarding game. It was impressive. I didn't expect it. On the other hand, I feel like a lot of the stuff that is the game's strength is also the game's weakness, because a lot of people, myself included, don't have nor do we want to put in the time to get good at a game like that. I wish it was a little easier from time to time. It would have stuck with me a little bit more. So I think what I'm trying to say here, and Puzzling Places, by the way, it is awesome, great, beautiful. It's a jigsaw puzzle. Okay.
Well, it's not. Well, it's. I mean, it is, but I'm literally saying the VR medium makes it more than that. Because I don't like jigsaw puzzles. Like,
right.
But I spend 3 hours in this. So, and obviously it's a well-selling game, and so that should speak for something. Like, when I put this list together, it's to have the broad appeal of what PSVR2 has to offer, and Puzzling Places offers something that if you talk about any puzzling games or puzzle games of any kind, I think it nails it. And again, I'm not fighting it for 6 to 10.
Right. And I think that's my point, is I just wanted to agree with that approach. Like, it's kind of hard to put something this high on the list if any of us kept it off our list.
Did we decide on Red Matter yet?
We haven't,
because I think, okay, well, I have stuff to add about VR Skater. I think VR Skater is way too low on my list. It's a personal favorite game of mine, and it's I think it's also like really good from a technical standpoint, from a content standpoint. I think it needs to be, up there. I'm not ready to say it needs to be here yet. So I agree with Wes and Miles in that regard. But it's 100% needs to be on this list and represented pretty well. Yep. Let's just get this out of the way, man. Like, my vote is that Red Matter 1 and 2 have to be in the 6 through 10, 100%, absolutely, because what it does on a technical level, just for so many reasons, the storytelling, the technical aspects of it, the gameplay, the adventure of it, the experience. Like I said, I'm going to be using that word a lot, I guess, but it is on so many levels, it is like a almost perfect game. And I think it deserves to be in the 6 through 10.
I concur.
Listen, I've got no problem with that whatsoever. I think Red Matter 1 is like a perfect puzzle game, and the way they expanded on it with Red Matter 2 was, adding some action to it, adding some stealth to it, adding some, just making it more of a complete game. There's some platforming in it. I mean, it's really hard to disagree with that. And then you look at it from a technical standpoint. And, right up there with Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution, Red Matter 2 is one of the best looking games on the platform from a technical perspective. Maybe not from an artistic perspective, but like, God damn, I didn't know games could be this sharp in VR. So
the artistic perspective is good too.
It's good too, right? But
cosmic sci-fi,
But yeah, but there's a lot of other games, like way more games I would go towards for the artistic the artistic side of this.
It's more original than, let's say, something like, Hubris, which I also love, but
Yeah.
but yeah, that was my first point. I like, before I get to anything else, I'm like, okay, I've got to. Do we all agree that Red Matter 1 and 2, the package, goes to 6 through 10?
Yeah. I will absolutely agree with that. Everyone else agree with that?
Okay.
Miles.
Yes, it's on mine. So
Okay. Now I feel like we can get now it's going to get a little bit more tricky.
It's gonna get way more tricky.
What my
Go ahead.
like? Sorry, I just wanted to throw what my 2 picks would be here. What I would say deserves to be here. First of all, Pavlov, because I don't know, like, it's still going strong. It still has a strong player base, and what it does on a technical level, what it does on a fun replay value level, it's an incredible first person shooter that really is a strength of the platform, that's something that every platform needs. First person shooters, multiplayer shooters are really, really important. I think it's the best first person shooter, at least from like a multiplayer standpoint. It could be overall, even like, Resident Evils are really good first person shooters as well. But there's also other things that kind of make them super special. But I think just from a pure first person shooter, I think Pavlov is the best on the platform and is kind of in a league of its own, and still going strong, still getting updates. It's basically the Call of Duty. Like, I was playing it recently. I've played through a lot of these games recently to kind of get like refresh my memory with them. And I'm like, dude, this is like, I'll take this over Call of Duty any day. This is basically Call of Duty on VR, which is a big deal to a lot of people. And yeah, I even though I have Moss Book 1 and 2, which I will get to, I would actually put the next one as Pavlov, because of what it does.
Can I just ask what has been on people's 1 to 10 lists that hasn't actually been considered yet? Because Pavlov was on your top 10, was it, AJ, then? And then what else was on your top 10 that hasn't been chosen yet?
Moss Book 1 and 2 and Pavlov.
Cool. Pavlov was on my top 25 list. It was a lot lower. I could argue it being higher. I probably wouldn't make it. Well, I could make it a top 10, but compared to others, it probably wasn't going to make it. Walkabout Mini Golf, I think Brian and I have had in a top 10.
Yep.
And then someone in the chat was saying that AJ and Wes have a top 10 that hasn't made it yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about AJ's, but I've got a couple of pretty significant titles here, in my opinion. First of all, Synapse, which, faults aside, is a game that provides an experience that no other game ever has provided, and does things on a technical level that no other game has attempted. Do I wish there was a lot more game here? Sure. But what it does is just so incredible. This is a game that, if it did have more levels and a bit more substance on the back end, that would easily be top 2 or 3 in the library, in my opinion. So I definitely had that here. And then the other one I just kind of took a stab at, which was Vertigo 2. I did not have a chance to get in and see how it performs, but I know how the game is when it's running perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, it's a top 10 game when it's running perfectly.
Just on that, Synapse was my number 11, so it was on the cusp of that.
It's my number 11 too. So to me, it's near, but it's...
Well, yeah. How would you guys feel then, since it's in number 11 for 2 of you, it's a top 10 for Wes? How about a little compromise, and we throw it into 11-15 right now? And so we secure something in the third bracket. Wes, is that acceptable? Or because listen, for me,
I don't call that like a bargain or anything, but I mean, it deserves to be an 11 through 15. If one of us has it in the top 10 and the other two have it at 11, I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
Where do you have it, Brian? Or were you one of the 11?
Nope, mine's 19, but like I agree with everything that's being said. Everything.
Yeah.
You know, yes, do I wish I had more substance? Yes, do I wish I had more levels? Yes, do I wish that we'd have to beat it 3 times? Yes, I wish there was a final boss. Yes, I wish the last level wasn't just a ton of enemies.
VRAF.
And that's what brought it down for me, right? Like it's crazy that like, you know, games getting like high 8s for me are like, you know, in the 23, 24 range. But yeah, listen, I mean, but is that fair? Like the question I've got for you, Wes, basically is, do you feel like it's unfair to put it in 11 through 15 rather than 6 through 10?
Probably, yeah. But because 11 is not, it's just one offset from 10. You know, and 2 out of 3 of us have it there. So, but
okay, that's
know,
totally fine too. Like AJ and Miles, are you okay with it being in 6 through 10?
Yeah.
What I would want to hear is if we're not going, if that's not top 10, then what would be?
Sorry, what game's this?
Yeah, maybe we should hold off putting Synapse somewhere just yet and figure out, like, you know, maybe we should just hold on to that, see what other games we're focused on here. Brian, what are your other 2 that you would put here?
Well, see, the problem, I mean, VR Skater, which I've already went on about, and
I say we go ahead and put VR Skater in like 11 through 15, maybe, but we can maybe hold off. What's your other one?
Ancient Dungeon, which honestly, man, is like, I mean, if I would have put it at number 1 if it was just like a personal favorite list, you know what I mean? Like, because it was one of those games I just could not stop playing once I started, and like I just kept saying, this is like the perfect game. Nothing about it bothered me, and it just kept pulling me back, and I spent dozens of hours in that game, and I just can't, and I'm still playing it if I, you know, when I have time, which I don't. So yeah, so listen, but I understand. I'm the only one with Ancient Dungeon on their list. I feel like it's going to be my ride or die, right? Which is like, unless you guys are would allow me to do something crazy, you know, and just like shove it into 16 through 20 right now, just to secure a spot. You know, and then I'll be much more malleable when it comes to, like, you know, if you guys want to shove Synapse into 6 through 10 right now, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not against Synapse being in the top 10 either. But I'm also I feel very strongly about Pavlov and Moss.
Here's the thing. Pavlov, I think, is a very good at what it does. On the other hand, it is a multiplayer only shooter, and it was one of the things that really drives me nuts about the VR library. And specifically, is that, you know, in flat world, like on a Call of Duty, you get a game that gives you a full campaign and then multiplayer on top of that. But for whatever reason, we don't get that in VR. We either get our story-based FPS or we get our multiplayer only FPS. And as good as Pavlov is, I didn't even chart that game because of what it is. It's just a multiplayer only military shooter.
But don't you think that comes down to more of a personal preference than what it actually is? Because I'm not a big multiplayer shooter person either. However, I can go into this game whenever I want. There's always an active player base. There's a really cool community with it, and it's a load of fun, and it's really high quality. And I feel like that stands for something.
Who else had Pavlov on their list, and where did they fall?
For me, it was number 17.
Thank you. Wes, was it on your list?
It was not on my list.
Okay, it wasn't on my list either, which I think, you know, it makes it really easy to dismiss from the top 10, right?
So let me tell you about Moss Book 1 and 2.
Also easy to dismiss from the top 10. Listen, no, I like what Wes said. Wes said if Synapse isn't a top 10 game, then what is? What, like, we need to have very specific focused conversations about this. Synapse is a big question mark right now. Where is it going to fall? Is it going to fall in 6 through 10, or is it going to fall in 11 through 15? What games, according to you guys, should be in 6 through 10 if Synapse is not going to?
Well, the one I got left, which was obviously much higher for me than it was everyone else, was Walkabout Mini Golf. And I know that people, if they've played it on Quest, they might have less of an appeal to it. But for me, the one thing PSVR2 lacks in many ways is like social gaming experiences. Obviously, Walkabout you can play by yourself. They keep adding so much content, and also, and this is not to bring Puzzling Places into this conversation, but like I love it when games could just be simply implemented and they leave it at that. But when they like Walkabout Mini Golf, when they do a new level, it's not just like another skin with the same sort of courses. The courses are designed around the aesthetic. There is so much love and with the atmosphere, with the audio design, with the haptics, like when you that sense of as soon as you hit the ball, you know whether it's going to go in or not. And it's a thing that people just love to jump into. I just love going into it, doing all the collecting the balls. It's a very complete game. And it's one of the best supported games on the VR platform. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it should be a top game, but I think that Walkabout Mini Golf, if I was to like give, say, to someone who's just got a VR headset, give me 5 games I should definitely get to kickstart things off, Walkabout Mini Golf is, if not the very first one I'm going to recommend, because it's just so easy to pick up and play. It feels good, and it's almost flawless in its execution.
I agree with that. Specifically, the part you said about why are you telling new people to play? It's 100% going to be Walkabout Mini Golf. But on at the same time, I would say the same thing about Synapse, because again, being able to control things through eyesight and telekinesis is just amazing. But with regard to Walkabout, 2 things. First of all, I agree. While it is relatively low on my list, it is on my list. And if we're talking about all of the games that we've mentioned thus far, Walkabout and maybe Moss would be 2 that I would consider maybe bending and letting them fall a little bit higher on the list. The other thing I want to mention very quickly, and I don't want to skew the conversation off, but I'm just curious, have you guys been privy to the next upcoming update for Walkabout?
This is not the one, right?
Whoa.
I'm not stealing it.
Yes, we are. I believe we all are, and maybe that'll change things for the next top 25 list.
I'm just trying to tease it for people so that they get excited about it.
Well, that's really good to know, and I am excited, and that worked. I would actually push. I would be willing to compromise here with Wes. Now, of course, Miles and Brian have to agree here too. I would be willing to put Pavlov a little bit back. And I would rather personally have Synapse than Walkabout, because I think as a PSVR 2 experience, I like Synapse a little bit more. But I think I'd be willing to, I'd rather put Synapse in 6 through 10 here than Walkabout. And I would love to include something like Moss, which Wes kind of alluded to, as a story-driven, what that game means. I really feel like a lot of people are familiar with Moss, but it's always something that's like it's just one of those games. It's just like a magical experience, and has a wonderful character. And I think, having an identity is really good. With likable characters in video games, and that's where Moss kind of sticks out. So if where I'm going to settle on right here is, I would say Synapse and Moss Book 1 and 2.
I would respond to that by saying I would happily have Synapse at 10. I would then fight for Walkabout to be 11. Moss, although it's incredibly low on my list and an excellent game, I'm happy to bump it up. I wouldn't be bumping it up to top 10 though.
And I would also, if we agree on that compromise, which again remains to be seen, I would also be okay with Walkabout being in the 11 through 15, because that's where I have it anyways. And
so correct me if I'm wrong here, but we've got 2 spots here left in the top.
We have 2 spots, and I'm going to suggest that those 2 spots go to Walkabout and Synapse. in an effort
What-
to move things along, in an effort to satisfy as many people as possible. And just, by the way, love reading the chat right now. So many people are with us, and so many people are against us. It's so lame. The Light Brigade might not make us. We fucking hear you. The Light Brigade's awesome, right? There's so many awesome games. It was a painful list to make. So trust me, we love the games that you love, and it was painful not to put some of these on the list. Who does
Wes, sorry if you've mentioned this already. What's been in your top 10 that we haven't considered yet or put it in yet?
Vertigo 2 and
Oh, Vertigo
Synapse.
2 was that was
All
it.
right, so
You-
I played
uh,
Vertigo 2 this morning because
and-
I wanted to know what the updates have done, and the updates were fine, but we still don't have a solid frame rate on that game.
All right, here's my next compromise. I will say put Walkabout and Synapse in 6 through 10, but I get Moss and Pavlov in 11 through 15.
Whoa! No, nope.
Because I'm the only one not getting anything from 6 through 10. There, I'm literally none of my
You
games
got-
are making it.
But
You gotta understand though that there's room for debate when there's a close situation with the ranking. I'm not trying to derail you here or anything, but two of us don't even have Pavlov on our list at all.
Right.
So it's like you're calling for an extra ride or die or something to try to get it that high up on the list. That's all I'm saying.
Right. This is why I'm not fighting for Ancient Dungeon right now. I'm the only one with it on my list. And so, I can't be like, oh, it's got to be in 11 through 15, or it's got to be, because I just
Miles, are you with me here?
listen.
Well, with Pavlov, I wouldn't. Pavlov and Moss, I'm willing to put them both higher up on my list, but not a top 10.
No, I know that's
I'm
what
willing
I said.
to put.
though.
I'm
What
willing
do
to put
you-
Moss
what do you-
in 11 through 15, and I don't even have it on my list. I understand the magic of the beauty of Moss, how great it is.
Yeah.
And I think it would be great on this list, but 11 through 15, I don't think it should crack top 10.
That's what I just said. That's what I said. Is you guys get to pick Synapse and Walkabout, which is what all three of you wanted, and then I get to get Moss and Pavlov in 11 through 15. At least Moss.
I'm
Yeah, exactly. Moss and Pavlov, you say. Moss, I could agree with having that, and I have it at 15 already anyway.
Otherwise,
think-
oh, sorry, good.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's pretty clear that Synapse is where it
Yeah.
deserves to be at number 9 or whatever. Just
Yeah.
based on what everybody's been saying about it.
I think
and
we
what
can
they're
all
looking
agree
at.
that Synapse is 6 through 10.
all right. So can we put Synapse in 6 through 10? Can we do this?
Yes, I
I
agree.
think so, yes.
Thumbs
Okay.
up. Miles,
right. And we're not putting Walkabout there yet.
Well, that's the debate. Walkabout or Moss is kind of the debate. Right now.
I listen.
I would say Moss because
No way, man.
the emotional.
I
But
feel
it's built,
like I'm
you know-
conceding by saying yes. We'll put Moss in 11 through 15 because again, it
Yeah.
wasn't even on my list. Then I think everyone else had it lower, other than you,
I
AJ.
agree.
And
I
so
It was like
so
29 on mine. Like,
All
I'm
right,
20
I'll compromise.
let's
I'll
put Moss in 11 through 15 right now, as we debate as we figure out what should be the final game in the 6 through 10 bracket. That work for everyone?
By
Mhm.
putting Moss where it's at, it kind of settles it. Walkabout is number 10.
Does that settle it? We're all happy with that?
Yeah, I'll
I think
compromise
so,
there.
yeah.
Okay, good.
No problem.
We'll ask Walkabout Mini Golf to make a Moss DLC just to cheer AJ up.
And just to be clear, I had Moss significantly higher on my list than Walkabout.
Me
So,
too.
All right, guys. So 11 through 15. We're this is going to be real difficult because I'm already seeing there's so many games left on this list that are just not going to make the cut. Very, very painful.
So quickly, I think we should run down the top 10s that we still have remaining, just so they're
Okay.
in the forefront of
Yeah.
people's minds.
So I'll start. Ancient Dungeon and VR Skater are the two of mine that haven't been recognized yet. The
Okay,
chat
and
is
I've
with me,
got,
by the way, on Ancient Dungeon. I just want to say that.
I'm neutral on Ancient Dungeon. I'm neither here nor there on it. So for me, let's see, we've got both Resis in there. We've got Turismo. We've got Walking Dead. We've got Madison, Vertigo 2, Red Matter's there, Synapse is there, Legendary Tales is there, and Horizon. So for me, it's Red Matter 2, not Red Matter 2, Vertigo 2, and Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Well, Horizon Call the Mountains in my 11 to 15, so that'll be a consideration. The only thing that's on my list, because what I've got is I've got my list, and every time we got one that hasn't been chosen, I have it just to the side so I can see what's still unselected. For me, it's just Puzzling Places, and again, I'm like not expecting it to be anywhere in the top half, and it'll be a fight for the top.
Is it going to be your ride or die?
We'll see. We'll see. It depends on what else, but Puzzling Places, I think, is heavily underestimated just because of the genre.
AJ, do you have anything in your top 10 that hasn't been?
Pavlov.
Okay.
But I will say, yeah, I mean, I think, look, I want to get VR Skater in here too, because I'm with you there. But
it's on my list.
There's no way I can say VR Skater is a better game than Pavlov. So I have to still be fighting for Pavlov right now because
Pavlov was my 17 and VR Skate was my number 18.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like which none of, Brian or Wes didn't have either one of these, I think. Or no, you had VR Skater.
Yeah, VR Skater's in my top 10.
I feel like Pavlov has got to be here, whether you like it or not. I feel like it is like, again, it's the only active it's basically the firewall of PSVR 2. And
Firewall
it's
is the firewall.
no, not anymore. It's basically the firewall of PSVR 2, and if you can't see the significance of that, then I got nothing else. But I would love to get Pavlov and VR Skater in this bracket here.
Listen, I'm with you on VR Skater, obviously. Pavlov, again, having not be on everybody's list. You can't say like it or not, because I think we all like it. I think we've all played Pavlov. We've all loved Pavlov. Some of us longer, for longer durations than others. And so
I've sunk so many hours into it. I love it. Exactly. And I just to say, actually, I think this has been what's interesting about this top 25 is because it's been over a year now, you sort of get a general lot more long-term feel about certain games. So like, Kayak VR, for example, was always seen as like an actually stellar launch, and just now it's not even on the list. And Pavlov, haven't played it. I haven't felt compelled to play it. I checked out the DLC update a bit. I think it's a technically stellar game in terms of its eye tracking, lying on the floor, guns feel amazing. I think it's an incredible first-person shooter. It's, for me, between that and Crossfire Sierra Squad in terms of which gets the best one. But for me, it's kind of like the sandboxy feel to it, I think is a strength in some ways, but it's a weakness in others. I would love it if there was a lot of structure there, a bit more structure in the game. But
I think you brought up Crossfire, because I feel like this is the perfect place for Crossfire, 11 through 15. Right? It's good. You can play it single player, play it with your friends. They just added and added and added to that game. Like, it was great at launch, and they just kept making it better. Like, they listen to everybody. I
love Crossfire, but I still think Pavlov is the better game. Even if I prefer Crossfire, I had Pavlov at 10 and Crossfire at 15.
When you say you prefer 15. Crossfire and Pavlov's the better game, like, what do you mean? Like
I think Pavlov is just like a better game, a stronger game. Even though I really like even though I like the style and the amount of content and the variety of stuff in Crossfire more, I still just think like Pavlov is just, it's just straightforward. Like it's just good to go. Like there's no it's just more simple and easy to, and more accessible in some ways. And, Crossfire, you kind of gotta you got to turn on you got to mess with it some to really get the best experience out of it. Pavlov is just take it out of the box and plug it in or put the disc in and go. And it's ready. There's no there's no
so much more
certain best way to have a good experience with Pavlov. There is a certain way to have the best experience with Crossfire.
Well, that's because there's so much versatility in Crossfire. You have to set the settings in the game mode because there's so much game here. Whether you're playing single player or co-op, whether you're
Or the
doing
arcade
arcade mode or realism, it's just there's a lot more. You're doing the campaign or the wave based. There's just so much more game there than Pavlov, which is a pretty straightforward and standard multiplayer mode from a military shooter.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate a lot of things that Crossfire does, but again, it's like the reason Synapse is in 6 through 10 is like it's not necessarily about what it's missing; it's about what's there. And I think what Pavlov has is it is just like the defining first-person shooter experience on PSVR 2, and I think that stands for something.
All right, guys. I just want to keep us all on track here. We are more than halfway through the bracket section of this, so we have to start making some hard decisions soon, making concessions, and or fighting.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I put a game out there then in terms of Horizon Call of the Mountain? Where did everyone have that placed on their list?
10. I had it at 10.
Okay. It was my 12.
22.
22, okay.
Let me guess. AJ didn't.
I did not have it on my list, but
Whoa!
But look, man,
That's
I know
Jay.
I know it's gonna make it somewhere. Like
Yeah.
I was not worried about Call of the Mountain, but I didn't have it on my list personally.
Can
you imagine if none of us put it on?
AAA
We were
game.
like, other people would do it. No. But that's how I was. That was how I did the list. There's some things I didn't have because I assumed other people would have it. But yeah, I do think a Horizon is like when PSVR 2, the first top 25 that we did. I think that would have been a top 10. I think now it's definitely a top 15, or if not top 20.
Lots of love for Pavlov in the chat. Just saying. I know it's
Hey, lots of love for Ancient Dungeon in the chat, AJ.
I didn't see any.
Oh my! Because
They're
you've got
pointing
blinders on. Because you've got blinders on.
Well, I think I just wasn't looking at the chat at that time.
Right.
I don't see lots of conversation about Ancient Dungeon, but I do see lots of conversation about saying Pavlov is VRAF.
It is the most VRAF shooter in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they didn't even add a crouch button, did they?
You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's VRAF, mate.
I mean, a crouch button.
Wonderful.
A crouch button is not the deciding factor for this. That's
Dude.
not gonna...
All right, guys.
One of my first VR highlight clips I did was I was in a corridor with some guys just chatting about this game, and I was like, "How do you crouch?" They go, "Oh no, you actually crouch." And I do it, and I go like this. They then get shot to pieces by the other team, and I'm among the bodies playing dead, and the guys run past me. And I was like, that is one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in VR. So yeah, Pavlov definitely has that magic. But anyway, Call of the Mountain. Would we feel about that being 11 to 15?
No,
just because everyone has it high.
Listen. If we want to talk about Call of the Mountain right now, I'll be happy to throw it into 16 through 20, if that would make anybody happy.
I'm not. I'm gonna vote no to this bracket, and
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Keep it at that.
I'm fine with that.
Well, we listen. I understand we're kind of digging our feet in here a little bit, AJ, but like we got 54 minutes to figure out the rest of these brackets. So it's time to make some concessions. It's time to start making decisions, even if it's not about this bracket. It's like, I really think that Horizon is like this important game for PSVR 2. It does a lot of great things. It's beautiful. There's a reason it's not in our top 10, but I do think that it belongs in like the 16 through 20 bracket. I mean, more than happy to have a conversation about that. But I do think we need to start making some decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to. I mean, I should have the least say in this, but I'll just say I agree. I'd put it 16-20 just to kind of move things along here.
Would Miles and Wes be okay with that? I know it's a little lower than you'd like, Wes, but at least we secure a place for it.
That's fine.
Okay, so 16 through 20, we got Horizon. Real quick here, guys. I want to give a shout out to everybody who's donating in the chat. I'm going to try to do this quickly.
What do we got here?
We got Ben L, the GameCat Army with the level 3 membership says, okay, I was 5 minutes late, but now I'm all caught up. Yay, 1.75 speed. Brandon VR with the $2 tip says, prison time for anyone not having breachers and Gran Turismo 7 at 1 and 2. We're all going to jail without parole. Ben Schroeder with the $5 tip says, just tuned in, have no idea what's going on, but I agree with 100% with whatever AJ says. Ben, get out of here.
That was when I was talking about just going by like, going by like how good of an experience it is, like ranking them by the impact of the experience, the importance of their experience.
Fox Die Infected with the €2 says, what just happened? VR Skater rules. Thank you so much, Fox Die Infected, for finally somebody saying something important around here. VR Spaceman with the 10 AED. That's Titan AEs. What happened? Games cast live when I'm awake? Haha, you found us. VR Spaceman, welcome to level 1 membership. ET.2K9.now with the $10 tip says, yo, Brian, AJ, Wes, Miles, and Cats. Happy to catch another top 25. How time flies, indeed. Jacob Hughes with $2 says, gutted not watching live, but buzzing, got Patreon. Hey, thanks for supporting us, Jacob. Appreciate you guys. Wally is now GameCat, specifically White Tiger with the Canadian $2 tip says, keep in mind VR2 exclusivity in the ranking. Pavlov. No. This is there's so many things that I want to consider when it comes to this ranking, but like the exclusivity, being a PSVR 2 exclusive is not one of them. These have to be good games by their own merit, I believe. And I don't. Yes, we can get excited for exclusive games when they come out or when they're announced, something that like kind of puts PSVR 2 head and shoulders above other headsets. But I don't think that's something we consider when we're just talking about the quality of the game itself. Okay. We'll get caught up with the rest of the tips soon enough. Thank you guys so much for all the support. In the Looper says Pavlov's not exclusive. Also true.
But he was just saying support for Pavlov. Right. But it also is enhanced on PSVR 2. It takes advantage of a lot of the features. It's probably the best version of the game.
A lot of games.
All right, guys. Okay, where does this bring us to? I got to bring up my list here and see. Listen,
so I don't think anybody has read off what they've got in this actual bracket on their own list. We've been kind of trying to meander and mingle our way through the what's left from the top 10 on our personal list, but we haven't even started to look at what we have in 11 through 15 yet.
Exactly, and that's why I think we definitely need to talk about Propagation Paradise Hotel. This game, just from a technical standpoint, unbelievable. Definitely, as you've stated before, Wes, this really feels like an OG Resident Evil game in VR. $20 was just like, I couldn't believe the quality we were getting for something that I thought was going to be very much a budget title. Great puzzles, great action. Really fucking enjoyed this one. Brought the horror. Before Madison came out, I think this was the scariest game we had on PSVR 2.
Interesting.
I love Propagation Paradise Hotel, but it is like bottom of this list. Like it should be on this list, but it needs, like, for me personally, like it is at the back of this list.
You're like 21 through 25 or 16 through 20?
Yeah, it's in my 21 to 25.
Okay.
I've actually got it too. Yeah, I think, and that's where it kind of belongs. I think. Well, like it's a 4 hour. It's a great game. It's a great technical game. It's 4 hours and it's done. Right. And there's no real there's no real reason to replay it. There's just I don't know. It should be here. It's a quality game, but it is definitely not like the top 15 in my opinion.
Okay. Well, let me throw this out there. Would anybody be upset now? And there's gonna be a lot to this. If we put it in 21 through 25 now, knowing it's the only game we can put in 21 through 25 because we each have a ride or die to fill those other 4 spaces.
There's a lot of games left, man.
I'd rather focus on 11 through 15.
All right.
Trying to get through this.
All right. I was trying to save.
It was a nice try though.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to save it.
It might.
We all have it.
Land there.
We all have it.
Yeah, but
I think a ride or die might end up kicking it out.
Yeah. All right. So who's got a game they want to fight for 11 through 15?
I've got a few.
Oh, go ahead. I've got a few too. I think I've really got to fight hard for Pavlov and for I really just Pavlov is the one. I'd like to fight for VR Skater here, but VR Skater can really go anywhere from 10 to 20 for me. So I could push VR Skater to 16 through 20. But really what I'm fighting for here is both Pavlov and VR Skater next in this bracket.
I would fight for VR Skater in this one. I think it needs to be higher on the list than lower.
My list, none of them are going to be in here. My 12 to 15 was Horizon, but I have said I'm happy for that to go lower, so no qualms there. I had Beat Saber, which I know is going to be a contentious one because we talk about this every single time, and again, I'm happy for it to go down as a result.
Yeah.
Stilt is on my list. I think Stilt is... It's absolutely... It took me by complete surprise. It feels like an N64 game in VR. It's so complete with its game modes, its VRAF and its mechanics.
So many levels.
And the multiplayer is so fun.
Yeah.
And what they've started doing in multiplayer, it looks like... And obviously we shouldn't judge it on what it's going to become, but it looks like it is going to become like the Fall Guys VR game. But that game is... It's like literally a complete full-fledged game with collectibles and ways of playing it, and it took me by surprise because at face value I thought, this will be an all right game. I can't stop thinking about it, and it really gets tough. So still, it's going to be one that I fight strongly for on this top 25 list generally. And then the one underneath it I've got is Knock, which is, I know, another game that none of you have on your list. Knock is VRAF, and it's like Rocket League in VR, and it's so polished. It's great for fitness. It's a great social sports game. Again, don't expect it to be on this list, but those were the four that were on mine. So yeah, I'd say out of the four that I've mentioned, Beat Saber, I think I'm just happy for us to discuss where it goes later down the line. But like, still is the only one on my list that I would say if it doesn't fit in here, I'd want it to be a consideration in one of the following brackets.
I'm with you, Miles. I feel like Stilt belongs somewhere between 11 through 20. Like it's just a complete game, and it's fun to play. It is so. I thought the whole Stilt bouncing around thing was gonna be such a gimmick, and it ended up just being a blast. I never got sick of it. And and I also thought it was gonna be a game about just wild jumps, but it ended up being a game about precision. And I was really surprised by how well they made it work.
I liked Stilt. I had fun in it. That was pretty good. But when you're talking about the best of the best, cartoony, casual multiplayer games, just that doesn't quite do it for me.
I mean, the single player campaign, though, man, the single player campaign is the level design is really well done.
It's fun. It is.
I'm down to talk about Stilt, but this is too early. Like comparing Stilt, like look at this bracket so far. We have Moss, Book 1 and 2,
which is in
there, and putting that next to Stilt next to each other, there is a huge drop off in quality.
We've just been asked to just list what was on our list.
Right.
I don't think there's a huge.
I know, but I was responding to Brian.
I don't think there's a huge drop off in quality, though. Like I honestly don't. Like it's two dramatically different games, but I think both are extremely polished.
Wes has not gone yet as to
I haven't.
As to
talk to us.
And again, I just repeat that the one from my top 10 that's still lingering out there is Vertigo 2, and I'm an agreeable guy. If I had to fight for one, I would probably fight for that one. But AJ, when we say we're ranking these in list of just general quality of the game and what are the best games, 11, 12, 13 for me, the Light Brigade, which is amazing, the Dark Pictures Switchback VR, which I love, and I'm sure
that popped back in there, huh?
yeah. And then Hellsweeper VR, since the update is actually a tad bit better now on PlayStation than it is even on PC, visually. And we all know that the gameplay was always there with that one. So I feel like these games, not to mention some of the ones I have in 16 through 20, are just exceptional. And I think any one of them deserves to to be fought for in this
I
position.
do have Hellsweeper VR in my my missing from this bracket right now and from the top 10 is Pavlov, Demio, Hellsweeper, and Crossfire Sierra Squad. Crossfire, as much as I love this game, that's the only one of those that I feel like could get pushed back and come into play later. But I feel very strongly about Pavlov, Demio, and Hellsweeper. So I do agree with you about Hellsweeper being in this bracket.
Yeah, and I agree with you about Demio. It's my 16.
I mean, Demio's my 16 as well. Listen,
So Brian and Miles, what do you feel about Hellsweeper here?
here,
Hellsweeper wasn't on my list, but it was like a consideration for sure.
yeah.
I have enjoyed going back into it. I think with Hellsweeper, and I do love it, and it's VRAF, like doing somersaults in that game is like one of the most incredible things I've ever experienced. And I'm very grateful that I have good VR legs for that, because I put my friend in it, and when he was halfway through the somersault, he went, I need to turn this off. But in terms of, well, actually, the issue I've had with Hellsweeper, even since the updates, and I know this shouldn't be the entire judgment, every time I do a full campaign run, it always crashes and I always lose my progress. I still have that issue now. So that's obviously tainted my feeling towards it. But when it is working well, it's amazing. But I still feel there needs to be some fixes there. But I'd be happy for this to be a top 25 game if it, whether it's this bracket, I don't know. I'm sort of
Guys, I have a suggestion.
agreeable.
Please. I just want to say this out loud to see if it works. We all know that we got a ride or die coming at the end of this list, but all of our lists are so different up to this point. I feel like maybe everybody needs to make sure they're represented a little bit kind of smack in the middle here. We have 4 spaces left in 11 through 15. What if we all just said, this one needs to be there? And that way we all get one voice smack right in the middle. And then does that work? Is anybody take that?
I know people are going to say yeah until we start naming them, and then people are like nah.
I would agree with it as long as we can all agree in spirit that we don't use this like another ride or die, right? Like if people start putting their ride or dies here, just because we get a free
Let me ask
shot,
Wes, does that mean like
the spirit of it?
Ancient Dungeon was number 5 for me, and it was not on anybody else's list? Like, if that was to be the one I shoved in here, does that kind of go against everything you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, we could do that if you guys want to do 2 ride or dies and do like a mid-tier ride or die or a low-tier ride or die. But what's going to happen is we're going to get something in our top 15 that half of us don't even have ranked. So,
Well,
for example, if you choose Ancient Dungeon,
right.
then I'm going to put Switchback here. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but that's fine though. But that's fine because I think that, like I was saying, the thing is like our lists are so different, and so many of our games are not going to get represented on this list. And so for us all to be a little bit more represented, right? It's sort of saying the opposite of what you're saying, Wes. It's like, yeah, some of our games won't make the list because of this, but it means that there will be more representation of each of us throughout the list.
If that's what you guys want, AJ's going to pick Pavlov.
Mm-hmm.
What if we did this? What if we all picked one and then we had the chat keep it or veto it?
No.
Like basically say
no.
Yeah, we do this, and then they either
it's take too long.
We have 39 minutes, and that's why I'm opting to say, hey, let's do this. Let's see how it looks. Can we just see how it looks?
Yeah.
AJ, what game are you picking? Is it going to be Pavlov?
Pavlov.
You're fighting hard for it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Miles, what game would you pick?
Still.
Yeah, I'd put Still for this.
There it is. Still.
Switchback.
Ancient
Dungeon.
West.
Ancient Dungeon. Yeah.
Switchback, and then,
or VR Skater.
Well, see, see, the thing is I think VR Skater has a chance, right? I think there's still a chance that it could end up in 16 through 20. So I'm going to go with Ancient Dungeon because I do think that because I think it needs to be there. Now, Wes, okay. First of all, how do we think this looks okay?
I actually think it's okay. I don't know.
Like, I mean, like, listen, I don't think you think Stilt belongs here. I don't think Switchback belongs here, and obviously nobody thinks that Ancient Dungeon belongs here. So, like, again, I do think it was going to be contentious, but looking at it, I'm like, I love to see that it actually does represent us a little bit more than it was previously.
I mean, I'm fine with that. And again, I'm just kind of neutral on Ancient Dungeon because I haven't played it, nor am I
Yeah.
interested in playing it. But I can tell by looking at it, I don't feel like it's the tier, the kind of game that deserves to be on the top 25 with all of these other like super high quality titles. But
I did enjoy all of these titles more than
Brian.
Horizon Call of the Mountain. So, Switchback, even with the flaws that it has, still, I enjoyed a lot. I love Stilt. Ancient Dungeon, I just haven't played a ton of, but I liked it a lot. So like, yeah, like I like all of these, and Switchback, the biggest flaw for me is kind of the second half of the game and the fact that it's not a great roller coaster game.
I think the second is better than the first half.
I still enjoyed it more than Horizon, so I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. If this is what you guys want, then I'm good.
Okay. Well, let's see how it goes. All right, guys. So we're looking at the next bracket here. Realizing,
good job, Miles. Getting Stilt in there. Getting Stilt
Yeah,
some love.
So what's going to end up happening is we're going to feel this shit in this bracket right now because we've got like 20 to 25 games here, and there's going to be some really great games that don't make the list because of what we just did.
Right. I agree. Except there was always going to be a lot of games that weren't going to make the list, right? And so at least we were like, ones that we're really passionate about, we made sure got in there. And I see right now Propagation is not going to make this list.
They might make it to 25.
Does anybody object to Vertigo 2 being in 16 through 20? I'm kind of going to bat here for me and Wes. It's a game that again should have been maybe in the top 10 if they'd smoothed out all of the technical issues, frame rates, etc. But it is still an imaginative, amazing single player adventure that just never repeats, man. Like, you're always in a new place. The bosses are crazy. The writing is crazy. I would love if Vertigo ended up here.
I'd be okay with Vertigo if Hellsweeper makes it here.
How would you feel about Vertigo making it in here regardless?
It depends. It depends on the other games because
all right.
That's the whole point is like Vertigo by itself, like I'm not in any rush to put it here, but knowing that a game that I do feel strongly about is also there, like, makes it feel better.
Okay.
I would, if I had to choose two here, I'd choose Demio and Hellsweeper. That would take precedence over Vertigo 2. I enjoyed the hell out of Vertigo 2. But it does have the technical flaws and stuff that, kind of hold it back a little bit. But it's still a great first person shooter campaign. But that's basically, for me personally, that's all it is. Just a first person shooter campaign. That's pretty fun. There's nothing that it's really good for what it is, but I think like to me, Hellsweeper is more of an experience. And so
yeah, well, I don't dispute Hellsweeper at all. My thing is Vertigo 2 versus Demio here. Like,
that's certainly you're not sure, or you just
no, I am sure. I am sure. I think Hellsweeper and Vertigo 2 belong here. I'm not so convinced that Demio should get it over Vertigo 2.
I'm with you there. I mean, I can agree with you there.
I have to kind of trust you guys about Hellsweeper. I've gotten back in, love how it looks now, but I have not spent nearly as much time. It hasn't grabbed me yet. I haven't spent nearly as much time as it deserves to
it's fucking amazing
to sit here and say
the only thing that holds it back is it needs more levels and more bosses and stuff to it. Okay. To be like, if it had more of that stuff, it would be top 10, like easy top 10. But the quality of what's here is just off the charts great now.
Yeah, and I haven't. I mean, Miles mentioned some crashing issues. I haven't really like had really not enough to be like concerned about, and I haven't had any more with the recent updates to it because they've been patching it, and then
Yeah, it's been about a month since I played it, and when I was live streaming it and it crashed twice in a row, someone in the chat said that you'd experienced the same, so it must have been a prior version that I haven't played. So look,
they
I'm
patched
happy.
it literally, I think last week was it?
Well, there we go. I've not played it in the last week, so yeah, and that's good, and it's the same with Vertigo. This is the issue we're always going to have with these games is they keep doing updates and things get fixed and are in certain iterations, and I'm always happy to go with those of you that have experienced the games more recent than me. Vertigo 2, when I played it, I had a lot of frustrations with it, and I kept coming back to it, and it wasn't quite right. If it's now at a quality where it's really good, then I'm totally happy for it to be ranked here.
That's a little tricky one because I would have to go by kind of someone that's played it a little bit more recently. I've played it not too long ago and it was fine. Like it seemed pretty good to me. But I know at this point, I know 100% that like Hellsweeper, you can like 100% platinum now, with like, you know, with good performance and stuff. So, both of these seem pretty good to me.
Hellsweeper and Vertigo, are those the two we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, they both seem really good to me. Again, I'm really trusting you guys about Hellsweeper, and that's, you know, there's got to be a certain level of trust here that I'm like, okay, like I just kind of bow to you guys and be like, oh, you think it belongs here.
Devil May Cry in VR, Brian. Devil May Cry in VR.
So it has a great story.
Did you? No. Have you played Devil May Cry? Nobody that's played Devil May Cry would say that.
Come on, Devil May Cry 1 was awesome. I also have only really loved Devil May Cry 1 out of the whole series.
I've beaten that game twice, and that story is awful.
I'm surprised I came back to played 3 after 2 was such a disaster. God, I hated that game. Anyway, the point is, listen, I love Devil May Cry. I'm glad that this feels like Devil May Cry and less like Sirento, which was a little shallow, right? It was a great game, but very shallow. Okay. So we're kind of, I mean, I feel like I'm all over the place right now. I'm gonna throw one game into the discussion because you guys are talking about 2 different games for a category that has 4 spots left. I'm a little concerned about Crossfire Sierra Squad, and I should be more concerned about Song in the Smoke, but I feel like I need to go to bat for Crossfire. Is that not going to make our list today?
I think it just did. I think it just did. We've got 4 spots left. Hellsweeper, Vertigo 2, Crossfire Sierra Squad, and one other sounds like a good installment to me. Miles, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like Miles needs some input on this because his list is radically different, and I feel like I'm kind of get trampled here a little bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty lost. Just with where we've been.
To be fair, you did that to yourself, picking all this stuff, man. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have gone with what I think. I should have just copied one of your lists.
Right, what's everyone else going to say? Exactly.
How dare I? Because what the fuck do I know? Yeah, look. I mean, on my 16 to 20, I had Crossfire on there as 16. I had Pavlov at 17. I had VR Skater on 18. So a lot of these games that you've been mentioning have been on my 16 to 20. I then had Tetris Effect, which for me is still one of the most mind-blowing VR experiences I've ever had. And I also had Zombieland Headshot Fever Reloaded, which is one of the best feeling arcade shooters. And it was the definitive edition made on PSVR 2, which I feel, again, has always been underestimated. But
VR Skater is the one. Now that you mentioned, like when you mentioned that, it keeps popping back up in my head. I still feel like that's better, maybe better than Vertigo 2 here.
I feel like if we don't get VR Skater into this bracket right here, then we've done something horribly wrong. That if if we put a bunch of games up for a vote, I kind of don't care what the other games are. VR Skater's getting my vote.
I don't want to. The thing is like I don't want to just knock that out because that Wes obviously feels strongly about Vertigo 2.
Mhm.
You haven't played the PSVR 2 version though, right? You're
No,
going by.
I played a lot of it on PC though, and I said that up front that I'm basing this upon the idea that that the thing runs well. I know what the game
Okay.
is. I know what you know what I'm saying. I know what the game is. I played it. I'm well versed in it.
Yeah,
I love it. It's 6 for me on my list for a reason. The reason why I haven't really gone to bat for it before now is because I don't know the state of the game. But most people are
it-
saying that it runs well, and all of the bugs, most of them have been corrected at this point.
it runs okay. Like I mean, it's got some frame rate dips. It does have some bugs, but it also does not have like it doesn't use DFR. It doesn't use it doesn't use haptics or adaptive triggers really well. So it's missing some of the staple features. The reason I would want to swap because we had been mentioning I forgot what some of the ones that were mentioned, but I know we were talking about Crossfire, Hellsweeper. Hellsweeper I think has to be here. That's really the one I'm willing to like really fight hard for. But I really like Crossfire, Hellsweeper, and VR Skater being here. I don't know about the fourth one. Well, that gives room for Vertigo 2 as well, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
So we don't even have to get rid of Vertigo 2 to add Crossfire, Hellsweeper, and VR Skater to this, and Vertigo 2.
listen, I am totally fine with that. Again, like making some concessions here, but I am again just want to make sure that we're all in agreement
Right, we all have to agree.
because this is when things get really really difficult because we're just everybody's seeing games that they really are passionate about drop off the list. Just like and we put those 4 in, then we've got a ride or die and one more game in the 21 through 25 to agree on.
it's a fair point, but again, I think we're pretty much in agreement on what's here. Like,
I know 3 of us are, but I don't think Miles has agreed to this yet.
Well,
the fact is that-
I said Hellsweeper and Vertigo 2. I'm happy to concede, but I'm literally trusting you guys because when I've played it, it hasn't been a good quality for me. So
Dude, yeah, it's one of my favorite games. So
and
I played
again,
it
the VR Skater's not on my list at all, but the 3 of you had it somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. So,
All right. So let's take a look at this. So
all right.
let's put these up and see how we like it. Hellsweeper, Crossfire, Vertigo,
Vertigo 2,
and VR Skater.
VR Skater. I love it personally. It almost looks better than the 11 through 15.
oh, it definitely does. It 100% does.
I kind of agree.
I agree as well.
I don't kind of agree. I totally agree. I think we keep Horizon and Moss where they are, and then swap out the other 4 in these categories. Right? We bring them.
Let me get this straight because
Yep.
I forgot to put the 11 through 15 on my little click list here, so I'm trying to sort through it.
Oh,
as
so
we go.
11 through 15 should be Moss, Pavlov, Stilt, Switchback, and Ancient Dungeon.
Moss, Pavlov, Stilt.
Switchback, Ancient Dungeon.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with kind of giving some extra love to like Stilt, Switchback, and Ancient Dungeon. I mean that's and Pavlov. Like it might have an even better effect on the list. Having such strong titles in the 16 through 20. We don't got to overthink it. Not everything has to be perfect.
I mean, listen, we don't have to
Well,
overthink
we
it.
do
But
need
we
to
also
get-
don't have to underthink it. If all 4 of us are sitting here going, like we clearly see like that these 4 should be swapped, then I don't see a reason why we shouldn't swap them. But only
Well,
if everybody agrees.
which 4 are we? Which one are we leaving where it's at?
I would say we leave Moss in Horizon where they're at. and then the other 4 in each category get swapped,
Oh, that's interesting.
right?
When Brian's working to get his VR skater up in the top 20.
Yeah, but
I'm
I'm
not-
also lowering my ancient dungeon, so it's
I'm not totally opposed to this.
right.
Let me see. Where's the one I'm missing here? I'm missing a title.
You missing something in 16
I-
through 20 or
I-
what?
Yeah.
It's Horizon, Hellsweeper, Crossfire, Vertigo, VR Skater.
If it's a little weird, I
There's
don't think
one.
it. The only thing that wouldn't make sense to me is swapping
Pavlov.
Crossfire and Pavlov.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that.
But
yeah.
can we? But I would swap the other 3 for sure.
I
Um. So for me, I think doing the 4 for 4 there, like you're suggesting, Brian, is more representative overall.
I think so too. I mean, it's not perfect, right? But I do think I'd be happier. I know that AJ's fighting for Pavlov hard here, but I think I'd be happier with it in 16 through 20.
And I would agree with leaving Pavlov and VR Skater where they're at and doing the 3 for 3. Honestly,
Doing which 3?
See,
leaving Pavlov where it's at and leaving VR Skater where it's at, and then trading the other 3 around.
I feel like I'm kind of conceding a little bit
Like
here.
Moss? No, I can't swap Moss. No.
No, he's not talking
I
about Moss.
didn't. No. Moss and Pavlov stay where they're at. Horizon and VR Skater stay where they're at, and then we're bringing down Switchback, Ancient Dungeon, and Still, which I'm sure Miles
And then
doesn't agree with this at
No,
all.
listen,
but
if Vertigo's going
And
up,
then
VR
moving
Skater's
up.
going up too. Like, because I feel like Vertigo's in the. I feel like of all of these, Vertigo and Horizon are in the right
well,
place.
like I said a moment ago, I
Yeah.
feel like that move is a better than the way we have it right now, for sure.
Miles, chime in here. I want to know what you're thinking.
I said from the start, I'm happy for those 4 to swap around on each of them.
All right, can we just do it then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Hellsweeper's moving up, Crossfire's moving up, Vertigo's moving up, VR Skater's moving up, Pavlov's moving down, Stilt's moving down, Switchback's moving down, Ancient Dungeon's moving down. Guys, this looks
it could be worse.
This looks so much better.
I agree.
All right, so
Now
Here's-
let's just take
yeah.
Pavlov and switch it with VR Skater.
By the way, I'm going to be able to hear everyone still while you're nattering on away, but I'm just going to get myself another drink of water. So
right.
I will be right back.
I don't know what it means in the nattering. It's not like fucking you guys
Nattering
are
just means like you
guys
just
are
chat amongst
blab
yourselves.
on. You like,
Blah, yeah,
blah,
that's
blah, blah,
it's a
blah,
polite
blah.
way of going just blah 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 amongst
Polite way of
yourselves.
saying
the
go
only
fuck
thing,
yourself.
the only thing that's a little out of place here, like I said, I think is Pavlov and Crossfire. Like I would swap both
Yeah.
those, but
And I honestly I feel like they're in the exact right place. I think I wasn't thrilled with Vertigo 2 being moved up, but you know what? It's like this is a little bit. Everybody
And-
gets a little something out of this, and we all lose.
this does at least make a little bit. It does kind of make a little bit more sense, at least.
Yeah. Hey, while Miles is gone, I'm just going
Not
to
as bad.
tackle these tips here.
All right. Well, if you're going to do that, then
yes,
I'm
sir.
going to go get a drink as well. I was going to
Perfect.
wait until we're switching over to the other format, but since
Okay.
we're stopping,
Yeah,
I'll
go
get
to it, man. Go to
That
it.
would have made a lot more sense, Wes.
The last bracket's going to be shockingly a short conversation because it's going to be where I'll have to agree on one game and then we all get a ride or die. Whew. This is crazy. Okay. Where the hell are we? Izzard with the 5 quid says, I'm crowdfunding the most immersive game ever for the next top 25. Fan Simulator VR, which simulates a desktop fan blowing at the player. I love it. SB with the 5 quid says, but Rez though. Yeah, I hear you, man. Rez has been a favorite game of mine since PS2. I missed it on Dreamcast, but played it on PS2. Loved it. Rhythm games entirely underrepresented on this list. Beat Saber has not yet made the list, which is insane because it used to be like a top 5, top 10 game all the time. Pistol Whip is so good. It's amazing that, you know, all the free content that we've gotten, the Void Slayer that just came out, like it is insane. The chat is killing me, man. I love it. We're doing our absolute best here, guys. That's all we can say. Red Rover, the effing Game Cat. What's up, man? With the $2 says, howdy, guys. Glad to be catching this live. Gran Turismo 7 for the win. Yes. Alejandro D. Catalytic Game Cat with the $2 tip says, we should have enough GG by January for a top 100. Dude, I feel like we have enough. Yeah, we definitely have enough for a top 50 right now. That's
Yeah.
goes without saying. Drinks 07 with the $5 says conceding 11 to 15 by allowing Pavlov still to switch back and whatever that dungeon game is, throwing the whole list off. Well, you know what? Hopefully we rectified all of that just now. Twitcher,
I'm okay with it. You know why? Because I've made peace with it because Pavlov is already super successful, and everyone buys it. Like way more people bought Pavlov than Crossfire, anyways. Although Crossfire probably did really well too. I'm like, you know what? If I gotta make it work, it's all right.
Yeah, Pavlov paying you under the table for this one. What's going on?
No, I've played Pavlov, Brian. That's if you play these, you would understand.
As I've said before, I think Pavlov definitely VR mechanics and all that is great. I think Crossfire, the reason I had it one above was it's just a much more complete game overall.
Yeah,
it does have more content, so
I know. Yeah,
it definitely has more content.
A lot of it's about preference. A lot of it is.
A lot of it is.
And for me, Crossfire is definitely my preference. Twitcher the Douche Juice Game Cat with a 2 quid says, if Song in the Smoke doesn't appear soon, someone gets hurt. Everyone.
Song in the Smoke didn't make my list this time, man.
It did mine. It's good, man. It's very good.
It pained me not including it.
Wally is now a Game Cat, specifically White Tiger, with the Canadian $2 tip says, don't you dare touch Pavlov. And Wally again with another Canadian $2 says, Pavlov's better than Crossfire, VR, Skater, and Vertigo. There we go. Oh, hey, why isn't this newest tip showing up? There we go. Wally with another $2 says, the gunplay in Pavlov is unmatched, guys. Up it, please. It made the list. Like at this point, I like games that make the list are just super fucking top tier. Like, dude, we're gonna end this, and the Light Brigade might not make it on.
We're gonna end there's a lot of games that are about to get the axe that should be here,
right? And there's just
Demio. I mean, come on.
I fought really hard for Pavlov, and
you got it.
I'm okay with this.
Yep,
and I'm okay with this.
Genotype, Hubris, Seventh Guest, Song in the Smoke, Propagation,
right?
Vampire.
We get one game here, and then our writer dies. Is that where we're at?
we get one, and so
we have to decide on one game, and then write or die.
Exactly. So that's the hard part, guys. I mean, not that this has been easy so far, but I'm looking through here, and I'm trying to see like what's the game aside from my personal preference. What's the one game on this list that this list would feel incomplete without? Right, separate from my preference, separate from my ride or die. Demio is definitely one of those games. Beat Saber is one of those games. Song in the Smoke is one of those games. I think those are the three that this list just doesn't feel complete without.
Here's the thing: Song in the Smoke isn't on one of our lists.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Saber isn't on one of our lists. I think whatever this one game turns out to be, needs to be something that's on everyone's top 25 list.
Is Demio on everybody's?
It was not mine.
Really?
Always one. It's always one. Man, these are all so good. Like the Light Brigade.
Demio was actually my 27th.
The Light Brigade's not even on
what about
my
Light
list.
Brigade?
The Light Brigade's not even
So
on
you
my
didn't even
list.
have Light Brigade.
And in like it feels wrong. It feels wrong if it doesn't make it. It's like really bothering me right now.
Yeah, it was off my list, and it was bothering me too. But I still think it's a tricky one though, because there's several here that I'm like, I
just kind of read down this list here, and let's see if somebody speak up if they didn't have it on their list. So we already said Light Brigade. Brian didn't have it on his list. Demio Miles didn't have it on his list. Genotype.
I think you're the only one with it on the list.
Did not have Genotype.
Hubris.
I had it.
I have it.
All right. Miles, did you have Hubris on your list?
Hubris.
Mhm.
I did.
No.
No.
All right. Arizona Sunshine 2.
Don't
Didn't
have
have
it.
Don't have it on mine.
Seventh Guest VR.
Last minute cut to get Cosmo Dread on the list.
Yeah.
Song in the Smoke. Did we say somebody didn't have Song in the Smoke?
Didn't have it on mine.
I say we just put fucking Galaxy Kart in here. I don't even have it on my list.
We have a
But I
winner.
feel I feel like we fucked up, and I feel like I fucked up by not including Galaxy Kart, and that needs to be here.
I felt bad about not having Galaxy Kart as well, but if you look at the list, you can see why it's not here. It's just-
Exactly.
it's not on this level. Propagation Paradise Hotel.
Excuse me.
I had it.
I did too.
I had it. It was my 22nd.
AJ?
I have it.
Where's it on your
There
list,
you go.
AJ?
It's low. It's like actually not that bad. It's like 17.
Yeah, it's 14 for me. You
I
guys
did
definitely.
24, but it's on here.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen. I would love to go this route and be like, well, we all had it. It's the only one we all had, and say, but you know what? Like, honestly, looking at this, I love Propagation. I rated it super high. I was terrified the whole time. I love that game. I would feel less worse. I would feel less bad about that game not making the list than, than Demio.
Jamie, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
That feel worse about what?
I would feel
Than
worse.
me?
Like I would even though I love Propagation, I rate it way higher than Demio on the list. I wouldn't feel that bad if Propagation doesn't make the cut. I would feel worse if Demio didn't make the cut. I would feel worse if Beat Saber didn't make the cut. But I mean, like, gotta take what I can get here. Like so I think at this point it doesn't actually matter if it's on everybody's list. I think all of us are looking at this and kind of seeing these games compared to each other and kind of looking
I
at
think-
what's left in a new light. Sorry, Wes.
Well, the three of us agree that this game most likely should be Demio. Miles, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah. Let's do Demo.
Or Galaxy Kart.
Listen, Galaxy Card's going to make the fucking list, AJ. Don't you worry.
Better, Brian.
Right? I got to
I
ride
feel
it
like
out.
I feel like in the future, next time we do one of those,
Yeah.
I think that each of us on our own respective channels should do a top 25 favorites list.
Yeah.
So not necessarily the list that we submit for this overall best, but what are your top 25 favorites?
Right.
So that we can recognize games like Galaxy Kart and Happy Fun Land and
But
Tetris.
I think after the updates, I think the Galaxy Kart is legit good, like really, really good.
Oh, it's
now,
great.
though.
It's great.
Yep.
It really is.
And it's not perfect. Like anybody who's played the multiplayer has been like, oh, okay, there's things that still need to be fixed. But like, Jesus, it's so much fun. The fun factor drives that, no pun intended, like
Yeah.
so much higher than some of these other games that have a little bit more polish and a little bit more quality to them. So wait, did we all agree that Demio should be in 21 through 25?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
expect
I had-
Miles to put up a little bit of a fight there, but he
No, I'm
he
good with it.
submitted-
Miles-
I had
Miles
Demio
is
higher
tired,
than
so that means-
Propagation. I had Demio at 12 and I had Propagation at 17, and I would say Demio is the better game, even though I love both.
Yeah, I agree.
The reason for me is the reason I'm easy to concede a lot of these is because a lot of these games were going to be in the top 25. It's just that I had a lot of games that obviously haven't been counted on anyone else's list. So if they're not on it, then Demio slots in. It makes sense.
Distracted says, I think Miles needs his own top 25 for the niche crowd. And not only do I agree with that statement, which is strange because I never agree with Distracted, but but also we all need our own top 25s for our own niche crowd, because like mine would be all horror all day long. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's true for all of us. Okay, so listen, I let you guys. I asked you guys to go first last time when we were doing the sort of mid-tier ride or dies, and so I will go first this time to make it fair for my ride or die.
Can I go last? Because I need to think about this.
I mean, listen, I want Galaxy Card if they're so bad. I want Galaxy Card if they're so bad, And
Don't you do it.
And I'm just what?
Don't you do it.
And I'm just looking and being like, man, but does it make sense with the Light Brigade not being on this list yet? Does it make sense with like I'm just with like Song in the Smoke, man, a game I gave a 10 out of 10 to on PSVR 1, and then on top of that we got this amazingly enhanced version on PSVR 2. I don't know if I even agree with myself on this, but I'm going with my gut, and I'm doing Galaxy Kart.
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, dude, and trust me, like it's all because of the fun factor. You play that
You
game
chose
multiplayer. You play it.
wisely.
You can play it with a wheel or not, and dude, it's just I just laugh so much when I'm playing that game, and I have so much fun. So
You pretty much just sealed that Song in the Smoke is not going to make it on this list.
I know, but you know what? You know whose fault that is now? The three of you guys, right? One of you guys can save the day. What order?
All right, I've got my ride or die.
What do you got, AJ? What is it?
And it's another game where you ride. Because I'm gonna go with fucking Runner, baby. We back.
What?
We back.
What?
Yes.
Oh,
I
come
still
on.
play Runner.
Really?
What? You guys are the ones that said you wanted a ride or die. This is your fault.
That's
and Runner is fucking fantastic, by the way. And so is Galaxy Kart. And they deserve to be here.
I mean, listen, it's your ride or die, man. Like I would object, but I'm not going to.
I still play the shit out of this game.
And I mean, listen, I picked Galaxy Kart, so I can't object to Runner.
I play a fuck ton of Galaxy. I think they're both good, but
yep.
Obviously, that's in our opinion.
All right, who's up next? Wes or Miles? Who's going first?
Go ahead, Miles.
Yeah, it'll be easy for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to announce all the games on my list that haven't made it, and then I'm going to pick the one that's going to be my run.
I think all of the ones left are the ones on your list.
Yeah.
This is a very Miles-centric pool right here.
Yeah, sure. Puzzling Places. I had Beat Saber. I had Knock. I had Tetris Effect, Zombieland, Barbaria, Breaches, and Cosmonius High. And for me, it's Puzzling Places, just because it's such a stellar game. And
good pick.
It is a good pick.
Yeah. Anyone that has VR should definitely experience this game.
I honestly don't object.
Have a demo? Does it have a demo? Puzzling Places?
I don't know, but I love these ride or die picks right now. I think these are fucking great.
All right, so Brian took Galaxy Kart. What did you take again? Runner, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And can I just say, I do think Beat Saber suffers from the fact that because it speaks for itself, like it's constantly sells headsets, it's constantly updated. It's very easy for us to go, so no one needs to fight for it. And so I do think the fact that Beat Saber personally isn't in this top 25 list is questionable, but it is what it is.
Beat Saber will be okay, Miles.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, the idea we're doing a top 25 list and there's no music game in here, I just think it's interesting. That's what I'm saying.
It is, and I've struggled with this. That's the only thing that I find kind of baffling when I was making my list. Like, I love Beat Saber, I love Synth Riders, I love Pistol Whip, I love Drums Rock. I couldn't bring myself to put these as like one of the top PSVR 2 games, and I don't really know why, despite loving these games. Like, I'm right
because they're simple and VR. As far as VR enthusiasts go in the VR catalog, we've moved past these for the most part. At the beginning, this is what everyone was playing. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that people aren't.
So why is it still the best selling on this idea that we've passed
on what, on PlayStation? Like,
yeah. Oh, is it not on Quest? Is it still not a bestseller on Quest?
I don't. I couldn't say definitively, but.
And again, I'm not fighting for it. I'm just saying it's an interesting thing that a music game hasn't made it on the top 25. And maybe the answer is because there aren't any excellent, music games. I mean, or that everyone's just moved on. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting conversation. But
I'm very much anticipating what Wes is going to pick here.
Yeah, because I've got three that hurt me.
Is one of them Hubris?
Actually, no.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think Hubris is great. I think Hubris is great. It's about as top tier as an indie gets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is an indie. For me, it hurts me that Song in the Smoke is not on this list.
Yes.
A lot.
It's time
It
to
hurts
let go.
me. It hurts me that Genotype is not on anybody's list. That blows my mind.
Eh.
It's
It's
a
because
great
it's
campaign.
good. It's good, if not great, but it also doesn't like. It's missing something. It's missing something that.
It doesn't have
Really-
AAA. It doesn't have AAA graphics. It just has. I mean, it's a very good looking game. If it looked like Hubris, I feel like everyone would probably have it on their
I
list.
think you're probably right about that. Also, like,
Probably.
but it also needed better haptics, and honestly, I stalled out on that game. I was having a lot of fun, and then I stalled out. I don't
Pacing.
3 or 4 hours in maybe, and just was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go next, and nothing seemed to be happening. And I was trekking through a lot of corridors that looked exactly the same, and I was like, okay, I'll get back to this, and then I didn't. I hate it. I hate that I didn't get back to it, not the game.
At the end of the day, I'm going to go with the highest ranked game on my list that didn't make it, which is my number 11.
My God.
The Light Brigade. The Light
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Nice.
so
Good one.
I'm so happy that the Light Brigade
I'm
made
very
it.
happy.
It wasn't even on my
this.
I feel
list. I'm
taken
so
advantage
happy.
of. I feel taken advantage of because you guys knew that I was going to pick this.
I had no idea.
No, I
You don't-
didn't.
You're giving us way
I
too much credit.
I generally didn't.
Yeah, honestly, man, like, like it is. I'm looking at what's left, and the only one I feel real bad at. Well, no, I guess Song in the Smoke and Beat Saber are the ones I feel real bad about. But I'm very thankful that you got the Light Brigade on here. But you know what? Listen, there's a good variety of games on here. It definitely represents
It's a good list.
4 different people's
mostly.
tastes. I hope equally.
I feel good about this.
Yep, and we'll make sure. Like when I'm putting the list together, when I'm editing this thing over the course of the next few days, make sure that we get some of these outliers here, the important ones that didn't make it. We'll make sure that they get into the honorable mentions. It's crazy. It's crazy, but you know what, guys? We made our first milestone. We actually accomplished it just
on
in
time.
time.
You
One-
wanted, yeah.
159.
1 minute to spare.
Yep, it's 159, and we've gotten all 5 brackets settled.
And you know what? We had a pretty good amount of debate in there as well. We didn't just run through it.
So a lot of the debating happened closer to the end, like talk or the middle and end. We didn't talk much about the ones that were easy to put on, right? 1 through 5. And so when we get the second part of this, the ranking, I want to make sure that we give each game the attention it deserves, and really make sure that these get in the right order in each of these brackets.
So we're not
So-
using this better than this for this
We
part?
are
This is gonna be
what he's
switch.
talking about is
Yeah.
after the thing ranks everything.
Okay. 'Cause that'll make this
have
a lot
conversation
easier.
about it.
All right. Well, so that is so we're gonna do it bracket by bracket, so it's not gonna be too crazy. Here we go. I'm gonna get. Let's see. Give me the games in 21 through 25, guys. Help me out so I can type them in here.
Demio, Galaxy Kart, Runner, Puzzling Places.
I got Demio in so far.
Demio,
Hold on.
Galaxy Kart,
Galaxy card. Okay.
Runner,
Puzzling
Places,
Places.
Light Brigade.
The Light Brigade. Okay. So we're gonna add the. Oh, hold on a second. Make sure we get rid of the old ones that I was testing it out with. Add these to the list.
And Song of the Smoke.
That's Song and Smoke. I know. Song and Smoke would fucking win this category. It's crazy. All right. And then we could rank. About to rank 5 items. This will take an estimated 7 comparisons. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. And let me bring up what we're looking at here. Okay, guys. So the first game that comes up, first games that come up is Galaxy Kart versus Demio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Demio.
Demio.
I think is the game we all agreed on. Do you agree with that, Miles? Demio.
Yep.
Okay, it's a pretty easy one. Runner versus the Light Brigade. I'll go first. The Light Brigade.
Light Brigade.
So many
Light Brigade.
updates. So much good stuff. AJ.
I'll go Light Brigade too.
All right. Demio versus Puzzling Places.
Demio.
I'm gonna say Demio,
Demio.
though that one's
Yeah.
close.
I would have said puzzling, but it's right.
Oh, Galaxy Kart versus Puzzling Places. I'm going Galaxy Kart, man. Again, just the pure joy, fun factor alone. I love Puzzling
agree.
Places, though.
Yeah, I'll go Galaxy Kart because I was almost considering that over Demio. And that says something.
I mean, look at that hot dog guy with the sombrero.
That's my dude right there. That's who I play as. With his little ketchup that he squirts on the track.
I'm outvoted again, so just go Galaxy.
Just
Kart.
go Galaxy Kart. Yeah, I mean, it is majority rule on this, I guess. Demio versus the Light Brigade.
Ooh.
I got a
Gotta
library.
go Demio.
It's a tough one. I'm trying to put myself back in the place of
It's
like
not
playing
it's
this
a tough one.
multiplayer, being with other people, and like playing the actual experience of playing the game. And I just love how well they implemented everything on PSVR 2. I'm gonna go with Demio.
Demio for me.
What were the other two votes? There was 2 for Demio and
No, there was 3. It's 3-1 Demio.
okay, thank you. I wasn't keeping track. Galaxy Kart versus the Light Brigade. I'm going Galaxy Kart again. Pure fun factor.
Light Brigade.
Galaxy Kart.
Light Brigade.
Oh no,
Oh.
Yeah.
the chat's gonna help us out. Hold on a second. Galaxy Kart versus the Light Brigade. Oh man, this is really tough.
Maybe I'll switch to Light Brigade. I'm going to go Light Brigade because I just think, okay,
All
yeah, like Light Brigade. Let's just make this easier.
That's totally fine. Galaxy Kart versus.
I do fucking love Galaxy Kart now, though. It's crazy.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's, it's really good.
I'm
It's
so,
so much
glad
better.
you came around. I mean, I know the game had to come around first.
I mean,
for you to come
yeah,
around.
exactly. That's what it was,
But
really.
like, but we were legit. Like, I mean, we were having a blast playing it. Even when I gave it a 3.5, we're like, this is so much fun. It's just we can't recommend it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Galaxy Kart versus Runner. I'm going Galaxy Kart.
I'm actually going to go Runner here.
Yeah, I agree. Runner.
I'd go Runner.
Wow. Okay, outvoted.
Aha!
Hey.
Suck it, Brian.
I'm just happy we made the list, and we've got a list. Okay. Shoot. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna, now that we have the results, I'm going to change.
Yeah, what's the order?
Here, I'll do it simultaneously here. So number 25 is Puzzling Places. So let me move that to the end. Number 24 is Galaxy Kart. Number 23 is Runner. Oops, that didn't work. Try that. Number 22 is Light Brigade, and number 21 is Demio. This looks right to me.
Pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it.
All right. We're gonna make a new list. Make a new list, guys. Give me the 20. Oh, I've got it right here. Hold on, I can see both now.
This one's gonna be hard because this is such a random fucking bracket.
Yeah.
This one's gonna be all over the place.
Horizon, Pavlov. I can't type. Switchback. Ancient Dungeon. Just to let you guys know, I'm voting Ancient Dungeon on every single one of these. So you can kind of skip my vote if you want. Stilt. Stilt is so good. All right. We're going to, hold on, let's delete the old ones. And add the new ones. And rank. 7 comparisons. Here we go. Pavlov versus Stilt.
Pavlov.
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 I'm not going to say my answer. That way we can just move on. Because I would probably say Stilt. I just love Stilt.
Oh my!
Horizon.
I love it too. It's the best N64 game on PlayStation VR2.
Until Marvels gets ported.
Ugh.
Horizon Call of the Mountain versus Switchback. I'm going Horizon.
Horizon.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's harder than I thought it would be.
That's what she said. Did you agree with us?
Both
Chris,
of
or no?
both of these,
Yeah,
I
I
like
agree.
half the game. Okay, thank God for that because I only like half of both of these games.
Well, lucky for you, you don't have to vote.
Thank God.
Pavlov versus Ancient Dungeon. Definitely Ancient Dungeon.
Pavlov.
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 I'm so sad right now. Ancient Dungeon versus Stilt. Definitely Ancient Dungeon.
Oh, this one's tough.
Oh, it's
Sorry,
not.
say that again.
Stilt versus Ancient Dungeon.
Oh, Stilt for me.
You can have my vote, AJ. Just whichever way you want to put it.
That's kind of how I feel right now.
I don't know if the sirens are coming through, but there are sirens on my end.
Brian, what am I? Okay, can we press pause here for a second? What am I missing from Ancient Dungeon? I've gotten to the second level. Those like red caves. You need to not necessarily spoil everything here,
Yeah.
but you need to tell me. You need to tell me right now. Right now is the chance. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing here? You need to tell me what am I missing that is so great about Ancient Dungeon? I like what I've played so far, but I have not played enough to know what I'm missing just yet.
Sure. I mean, it's pure gameplay, right? The game does not bog you down with any story. Like the game knows that it is a fun ass game. It doesn't bog you down with any story or anything like that. It's very minimal. And so, but it is, you're going through these caves. You're certainly trying to survive, but it's also, it's got this good roguelite thing going on where it's a lot of like maybe more risk reward than any other game that I've played. In fact, it becomes, this is what I like about Ancient Dungeon is that I've had runs in that game that are unlike any other run that I've had in that game. I've gone through it like 100 times. And so, like one time I had a thing growing out of my arm that was like shooting enemies for me. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I've never seen it again. Right. Or that sometimes it's like, oh, you've got 6 hearts, but when you, this whole risk reward thing, like one of the power-ups you can get, you're like, well, now I have 10 hearts, but you can't recharge them if you lose them. Literally they're one use only. And so like, that suddenly you're just dead if you suck. Right. And there are all these different things that you can do. That just make the game radically different every time you play. And so there's this like anticipation when you go into the dungeon each time, like, what am I going to find this time? I've got this favorite thing that I had one time before. I hope that I find that. Very likely you won't. Like, it's just, it's so random that every run just feels exciting. Like you've done it before, but you haven't done it in the way that you're about to do it.
Okay. This one's tough because when you talk about it being like a pure gameplay perspective, I just like platformers more.
Sure.
I think these are both pretty equal. I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer here. But I do hear so many people talking about Ancient Dungeon and like how fun they have with it. I'm gonna have to go. This is really, I guess this is both mine and Wes's vote. I guess. I guess. I'm just, for the sake of moving things along here, I'm going to go Ancient Dungeon, but
last chance.
That's a bit of an objective take because my personal preference would probably be Stilt. But I understand that Stilt is, there's a simple.
Vote for the game that you think. I mean, I haven't made the case for Stilt.
What I've played.
Hold on, wait, time out. We can certainly let Miles plead his case for Stilt, but I just want to say, I haven't
played a ton of Ancient Dungeons.
Exactly, and I barely played Hellsweeper, right? And so I just had to trust the people who like have spent the most time with it and saying, "Yep, you know what, you're fucking right on this," and we're going to include it on the list, and I'm not going to object on anything that gets brought up. And so if you've only made it to the second level of Ancient Dungeon, please take everything I just said into consideration. But also, Miles,
because the third level is beautiful.
It is.
The third level is like one of the most stunning levels in Ancient Dungeon,
Really?
And there's a couple of mechanics that you unlock that are really, really good in that game. Yeah, I absolutely love Ancient Dungeons. It's really, really good. For me, the reason I chose Still over is just because the progression in this game in difficulty. The fact that every game has 3 types of collectibles, I think it is. Like, so you got the complete it in the fastest amount of time, collecting the most amount of stamps, and then like there's gifts, and it literally feels like you're inside an N64 game. And then the multiplayer component as well. But what is a great thing to say about both these games is Ancient Dungeon, I think, was a solo developer. Stilt was predominantly a solo developer. I think they've got 2 in the end. Like the fact that these 2 are on this list is pretty incredible and speaks a lot for the.
I'm very happy they're both here. Yeah. I'm gonna. Like, I don't want to say I want to trust Brian here because I probably trust Miles more. but I'm just gonna give Brian try to make him happy for once.
There's also a lot of love for Ancient Dungeon, like just verbally in the chat as well.
Yeah,
like,
I'm seeing lots of that as well. And again,
That's weird. I don't see any love for Pavlov in the chat. Just sorry.
To me, I'm gonna go Ancient Dungeon here. Stilt is my personal preference, but I feel like I can see Ancient Dungeon being the better overall or the better game, or like overall. Again, it's like it's not about what issues. Like none of these games, either one of these games doesn't really have any like issues. It's just like which one is more betterer.
Yeah.
And I just got to go with Ancient Dungeon here. I'll give the vote to that.
Yep. All right. Cool. I mean, listen, like, you know, the fact that they both are in this bracket, as Miles said, is fantastic. And like,
I love it.
Yep. Where in the hell is my window? Here it is. Ancient Dungeon. Pavlov versus Call of the Mountain.
Pavlov.
All the mountain.
I would say Call of the Mountain. I do love Pavlov, but I do, as I look at the entire list, and feel a bit weird of where Call of the Mountain is, because I think often for what they've done for the platform and what it is, it's phenomenal. So yeah, Horizon.
I'm going to go with Call of the Mountain.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fair. That's probably the right call.
Pavlov versus Switchback.
Pavlov.
Switchback.
Man.
I think Pavlov is absolutely the better game.
I
love Switchback. Or I like
it is
Switchback.
Pavlov. It is Pavlov.
Yep, it's Pavlov for me as well. Ancient Dungeon versus Switchback. Ancient Dungeon.
Okay, I gave Ancient Dungeon.
Yeah.
You know, I gave it some love there, but that's all it gets for me. So I'm gonna go Switchback here.
Switchback.
Miles. I know. And no one say anything because it's just I'm just taking a moment to think about it. I'm looking at what was my 26 to 30. I had Switchback higher. I'm going Switchback.
All right, there we have it. Is that right? Yeah, everyone said Switchback except for me, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Good, just making sure I don't screw this up. All right, we got it. Let me bring up both windows so I can change it and do the right thing here. All right, that means that number 20 is Stilt. Number 19 is Ancient Dungeon. These are in the right order. Switchback is 18. Pavlov is 17. Horizon is 16. These were all in the right order.
Yep, that's the order I had them in. That's right.
All right, excellent. All right, let's get back to the list and get the next ones in line. On the next list,
I almost could have put Ancient Dungeon above Switchback, but I don't want Wes to fucking hate me forever. So
It's done, bro. It's done.
all right, Moss, Hellsweeper, Crossfire, Vertigo 2, Vertigo, I can't spell, and VR Skater. I'm probably going to vote for VR Skater for all these guys. We're going to add those to the list and rank. 7 turns. Moss versus Hellsweeper. Oh, AJ's having a
Moss,
struggle. Oh,
easy.
no struggle. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But I don't know. That's kind of tough.
No,
Actually.
easy. Moss, you have a emotional connection to the character. Like Moss is one of the richest VR games I have ever played. From the graphics to the gameplay to the like environments to the textures to the characters. Fucking one of the richest VR games I have ever played.
It's one of the best story-driven campaigns in VR.
One of the best video game characters.
The gameplay, though, the gameplay in Hellsweeper is more fun.
True. That's maybe the only thing that's better versus Moss.
But that's the
I think
thing
I'm
you
gonna
care
go
about the
Hellsweeper.
most, AJ.
I mean, it's part of it. But
just-
there's also the sum of its parts thing. I
Trying-
also love platformers and hack and slash.
Yeah.
I'm
Is
going
that-
Hellsweeper.
I'd be going with Moss.
Listen, I feel bad for voting against Hellsweeper, but Moss is phenomenal. It's so beautiful from an audio visual standpoint. Love Quill, love the puzzles, love everything. There's obviously just there's some level of inexperience with Hellsweeper in my vote, and I apologize for that. But I'm going with the game that I stuck with because I loved, and I didn't stick with Hellsweeper because I didn't love it. Hopefully that'll change next time I get in there.
That's fair. And to be clear, it was very close for me anyway. So
Moss it is. Crossfire versus Vertigo 2.
See, this category, just because of the Vertigo and Hellsweeper thing, which is I've lent those titles into here because of like other people's experiences with better quality versions of the game. For me, I'm leaning away from Vertigo 2 on this one. For that reason.
You're leaning away from it. You're picking Crossfire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Crossfire versus Vertigo 2.
Yeah, I jumped into Vertigo 2 this morning. I think I'm more susceptible to frame rate stutter and environmental issues and that kind of stuff than most people. And so again, I feel like my vote doesn't apply to a whole lot of people. I feel like it applies to me. But man, like I think Vertigo 2 needs to be cleaned up. Implement whatever patches you need to make it happen, because Vertigo 2 is such a good game, and again would be in my top 10 if it was just really polished. It had adaptive triggers like we talked about earlier. So I've got to go with Crossfire.
And also, Crossfire is a masterclass in like how quickly you can respond to feedback from the community. Like the whole one, people were annoyed that you had to play the entire game, was it, on arcade mode to unlock realism? Yeah. And they were like, okay, you can play how you want. And so it's always this give and take when it comes to stuff like Vertigo and Hellsweeper. And it's not criticism. I love that developers do the hard work and bring these things to light. But I do get frustrated when I keep going back to games and I'm still having issues. And it's not to say they're not fixed now, but it's like, well, someone just grab me when it is finally fully finished, kind of thing. And it's and that's the thing when you're balancing over 200 PSVR2 games, and not naming any games in particular. I've had it where devs have messaged me and asked me if I've tried the game yet because it now doesn't crash, and it's like, what? Well, you tell me. You tell me if it doesn't crash. And so yeah, it can be difficult with that. So for me, Crossfire is like, it's a well polished game, and they optimized it very quickly based on the community response, which I do actually think has value in this conversation.
So we got 2 for Crossfire. I don't think I've heard from.
Yeah, no, I voted for Vertigo.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Crossfire utilizes the PSVR 2 features a little bit better. I think it's just as great as a creative first-person shooter that Vertigo 2 is. I think Crossfire is just a better first-person shooter overall. So I'm going to go with that.
Yep. All right, Crossfire takes it. Now we got Moss versus VR Skater. It's Brian versus AJ.
Moss.
No! I didn't even plead my case yet. Wait! What about the music? Oh no!
I turned that shit off. I use Spotify.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
I have so much fun with VR Skater, but when it's what is the better game, Moss, without a doubt.
I hate you guys. VR Skater versus Hellsweeper. VR Skater.
Hellsweeper.
God, I hate this so
this
much.
one's tough.
I go VR Skater.
Oh, thank God.
No.
Because I always think in these conversations, we're going to do a top 25 again, and if stuff like is exemplary and stuff, then things can bounce back. There's stuff that I've never even that has not been in my top 25s before that is in this time. So
Trust
yeah,
me.
VR Skater is a good polished game.
The second multiplayer gets implemented in Ancient Dungeon, I'm making all of you play it with me extensively, so that.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I have so many people I'm going to be playing that with once it's
the chat is just about as divided as I am on this one. It's Hellsweeper versus VR Skater.
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, both are kind of like, hard to learn. Like both have a little bit of a learning curve.
Yep.
Both are a little bit more extreme, and I love both dearly. Oh God. I don't know. I don't know if I could answer this.
Think about the progression in Hellsweeper, man. The way that you can progress your skills.
Think about all the cool unlocks in VR Skater.
Oh, stop it!
You love cosmetics.
I mean, they both have good. I mean, the Hellsweeper has better progression for sure, but the VR Skater has progression, which is interesting for a skateboarding game.
Think about the variety in gameplay. Like, if you want to shoot, you can shoot. If you want to melee, you can melee. If you want to magic, you can magic, and then you can combine it to do like magic melee or fire guns or
But AJ, if you want to grind, you can grind, and if you want to do a kickflip, you can kick, and if you want to combine them all with a manual, you can combine them all with a manual.
Y'all don't have to convince me about any of these games. I play these games a lot.
I just think it's funny to try to shoot Wes down. I don't know.
And like the chat is literally like Hellsweeper, VR Skater, Hellsweeper, VR Skater, Hellsweeper. Yep. What's higher on my list? Somebody said what's higher on my list. But my list was wrong.
Yes, we've all proven that our lists were wrong. Even this list is wrong in some ways. I mean, what are you gonna do? AJ, we're gonna need a vote here.
I think is what do I know? I'm sorry. I'm holding this up, but I was not expecting to be put in this situation. I did not expect this to happen. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, you guys. There's really no wrong answer here.
No,
whatever you got to say to make yourself feel better.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with VR Skater.
Yes. Golu with the 10 plantain says, "Here's money. Here's money to put Masternoid on the list, bro. You should have given that to me like yesterday. Masternoid is a 3 out of 3 pods.
That hurt me more than it hurt you, Wes.
I've got a quick update on. We were talking about Masternoid.
Yeah.
On the last episode, and I actually got some clarification on that situation. So I remember someone in the chat saying that something about Sony, and we had to correct them and say, well, it isn't Sony in this case. It's actually Unity causing the problem.
Right.
But as it turns out, it actually is Sony.
Oh, and here we are saying like, oh, Sony needs to step in to fix this, but it's actually because of Sony.
Yeah. So what it was is that Unity is always or PlayStation. You've always had to have that pro tier of Unity to be a Unity dev on PlayStation, but that they were given some kind of a pass for that before through some program that is no longer active. They've discontinued that program. Sony has, I guess, as a cost-cutting measure, most likely. So yeah,
a developer fucking method, more likely, because guess how many developers?
As some were joking it. As some were joking in the chat about Hellsweeper and VR Skater having like a collaboration, I would love to see Mixed Realm work on a VR Skater where you could do backflips while like in the air,
or like flaming skateboards and shit.
Yeah, that would be
like
so
grind,
good.
and it just like leaves like a trail of fire,
or a level where you skate through hell.
Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah, skate through hell and doing backflips on a half pipe. That would be so good.
Love it.
Make it happen.
Pietrek F with the 12 plantain says the 7th guest best narrative puzzle game. Donkeys. He called us donkeys. That's so cute. I love you so much, Pietrek.
I had 7th guest at 21, and I agree. It is the best narrative-driven puzzle game on the platform.
Red Matter would take it for me.
Yeah, or maybe even Moss.
Oh yeah, well, I agree, but it isn't so much for the. I think Red Matter's a more complete game. I think like the exploration, the movement, and the combat add a lot to Red Matter too. I don't look at it as just a puzzle game. It's a adventure.
Yeah, and again, man, I know we've already said it 100 times, but like. Anyways, like, oh, these guys must hate this game or that game. We don't. We had so many amazing games up for consideration. This has been maybe one of the hardest lists to make ever. And and 7th guest was a last minute cut for me because I was like, oh, what's number 24, 25 going to be? And I had to make a few last minute cuts. And I love Cosmodread so much, it didn't even make the final list.
What's crazy?
What's up?
You know what's crazy is this list was so much harder this time. Well, I mean, it's easier to get 25, but it's apparent that there are so many more great games now than there were before.
Yeah.
But
Across
when
so
you
many
think
genres
about,
as well.
but when you think about how the narrative has turned in like the mind of the general public, like before, when we did this list before, people were over the mountains excited about PlayStation VR, but now the narrative out there is that there's no games, and as you can see by looking at the top 75 to 100, that there's so many more great games now than there was before. It's just mind blowing to me.
Yep. And dude, I mean, think about when we do this again in 3, 4, 5 months, right? Aces of Thunder will be up for, it could potentially be on the list. Zombie Army, Metro VR, Arcanage.
Half-Alex, Fallout 4, War Thunder.
Yeah, right. You guys have already been banned by some of our members for talking too much about PC VR. Don't make it worse. No, I mean, there's just such an endless list of awesome stuff coming. Phasmophobia could be out by next time we do this, right? It's like this is just going to get harder and harder and harder, and it's going to love every second.
And we'll just expand the amount of games.
Sorry, Looper says Behemoth and Aliens. Yeah, there's lots of great Metal Hellsinger. Wanderer, Jesus Christ, we're so
it'll be a top 30,
right? And then Tarzan VR comes out soon for PSVR 2, so I mean that's just going to wipe everything up. Okay,
that's bananas.
Is it Friday already? Okay, we got to get back to this. Moss 1 and 2 versus Crossfire.
Moss.
Yeah, Moss.
Yeah, Moss.
Yeah. Okay, unanimous. Got it.
Moss.
VR Skater versus Crossfire. VR Skater.
Crossfire. You'll get caught up in the crossfire.
Oh, that sold it for me. That sold it. That singing, that got me over the line. It's Crossfire. If only they had that song in VR Skater, then VR Skater might have won it.
I'm gonna go Crossfire here.
You guys. VR Skater versus Vertigo 2. VR Skater.
VR Skater.
VR Skater.
Vertigo 2.
Oh, okay. Got one for VR Skater. Vertigo 2 versus Hellsweeper.
Hellsweeper.
Vertigo 2.
Miles, you're gonna decide for
Hellsweeper.
too. Okay, Hellsweeper it is.
Hellsweeper.
All right, here we go. We got another bracket completed.
Bracket completed.
Okay. And I gotta say, there were a lot of people in the chat. I don't know if they're still saying it, but earlier they were like, "How come you don't just like add everything up? Like add up everybody's ranking on their list, and
point system.
Right, do a point system.
So number 1 is 25 points.
People
That'd be
complain
boring.
about it.
Right, and
that was a disaster.
Also, it's really boring. Right, it's like having these discussions and duking it out and like making concessions, and
it'd be like asking ChatGPT just to give us a top 25 and we just read it out.
But it's more an idea. Wait a minute. Hi guys, we have an idea for the next top 25.
It was scientifically speaking, it was the most representative of everyone's opinion. It took everybody's opinion and ranking and gave it an exact value of what it would be worth, and mathematically deduced the order out.
Right. And as science tends to do, makes everything very factual and accurate, but takes all the fun out of everything.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't disagree with that.
Number 15, Vertigo 2. Number 14, Hellsweeper. Number 13, VR Skater. Yes. Number 12, Crossfire Sierra Squad. And then number 11, Moss, book 1 and 2. Whew. Guys, we're getting there. We are getting there. I'm so excited. I knew that we could do this faster. And with Looper's guidance, made it all happen.
I've liked the original method we did, and then but I think this method is a little bit better. It's a little bit faster. It's like it feels like the old method, but it's like a little
more
quicker,
structured,
which is nice. Yeah,
more structured. And guys, like, I'm glad we still have a half hour left because we have barely talked about the games in 1 through 10. So we got some of these are going to be. I'm guessing we're going to have some interesting conversations about these. We'll see.
Maybe, or just vote on them.
Or that.
We don't have to make it 3 hours.
Hey, listen, I'm just trying to do.
It just depends on if we agree. I mean, if we disagree, then we. Then,
Yeah.
Right.
You
Well,
know what I
it was
mean?
always funny because there were definitely time, like I think every time we did this in the PSVR one generation, like me, AJ, and Dave would like get into like, you know, fucking bloody fists. People were crying and like, you know,
Mainly me and
bruises.
Dave, but yeah.
And it would always come down to the Saints and Sinners versus Resident Evil 7 thing, right? Like, oh, this one's VR, yeah, but this one's a more complete game, and this one's this, and this one's that, right? Sometimes we do this, and like we barely talk about the first and second place, and it's like, what just happened? Like, why was that so easy? You know, I think people tune in for the blood. All right, I'm gonna add all 5 of these games to the list, and it is time to rank them. Walkabout Mini Golf versus Madison VR.
Listen.
Madison for me.
Madison for me.
Yeah, Madison.
Nice and easy.
That's surprising. I thought you guys were definitely going to be fighting for Walkabout there.
Madison's got a very special place in my heart, and I can't wait to complete it.
Yeah, it's got a special place with the damage inside of it.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know.
Honestly, it's the most visceral game, like VR experience I've ever had in my life. Like, you think it with other games, like I had it with Propagation and stuff, but Madison. Did you know? Like, I know we're gonna talk about games in detail later, but when I was playing Exorcist Legion yesterday, it made me realize the small things Madison does so well. Like when you touch the wall, you get the haptics and your hand doesn't go through it.
Dude,
like stuff like that is so simple, but it makes you feel present. And it's just, there's a lot of small details they do, which just make it absolutely phenomenal.
A lot of the times there's games where the developers talk about sacrifices they have to make. And I feel like they made all of the right sacrifices with Madison and they nailed all of the decisions that what to prioritize. That's why that game is so good in the way it is.
And by all the right sacrifices, AJ means they sacrificed a goat, they sacrificed newborn baby.
Yes.
No,
This is
listen.
also true.
Looper mentioned it in the chat. He said, Miles, everyone can't wait for you to finish Madison because they want the fucking spoiler cast to happen. I don't know if all 4 of us are going to be on that, but
next week I should have now caught up with all PSVR 2 games. And then like as soon as I'm actually it might be the week after. I do plan on getting back to it, but I just want to get on top of these PSVR 2 games. But I do intend on going back to it.
all right. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm probably the first one to say, oh, the story and this just dragged me down, whatever, right? But the story in Madison, like that, a lot of that is what pushed me forward. So very, very glad. Where are we? Red Matter versus Synapse, apparently, is what we're looking at.
Red Matter.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But I think Red Master, yeah.
Yeah, I could agree. More, it's just more of a complete game. I feel like if Synapse had another year of development time, we'd be having a different conversation. Madison
Agreed.
VR versus Legendary Tales. Dude, we barely talked about Legendary Tales in this. And I'm definitely
This is the first time, yeah.
Yeah, definitely interested to hear, if you think, especially AJ, knowing how much you've probably played Legendary Tales more than anybody I know, if you think that it's just a better game overall than Madison.
Yes. No, absolutely, because it is the best and maybe, well, it's not the only RPG, but it is the best RPG. And not only is it the best one, and one of the very few in all of VR, but it's a damn good one at that. I mean, the depth of there's so many great things about Legendary Tales that I could go on forever and ever. To summarize, the amount of content it has, like in terms of depth of really great combat and the weapons, the legendary loot that keeps you going and going and going. Like, dude, last time I jumped into Legendary Tales, I got a new legendary weapon and I was like, dude, like now I just like want to replay the whole thing with this weapon. Like, and that happens over and over and over. And yeah, it's just, we don't get a lot of RPGs. And so having a Diablo like RPG, from a Souls first person perspective or whatever is mind blowing. This is one of the best games, VR games I've ever played, and the combat is amazing. The loot is amazing, and it's also set in like a medieval, dark, gruesome, like brutal atmosphere. There's I could go on and on, but I really don't feel like I need to. I've met people online just jumping into multiplayer with randoms in this. By the way, it has multiplayer, 4-player,
Right.
which I've played majority of my 70 hours with this game. I've played single player, but it gives you the option. And those people that I play with in multiplayer have played like 300 hours in this game and still going. So there is a lot of gameplay and game here. And as much as I love the horror experience of Madison, Legendary Tales is like, to me, it could even be almost number one of like for like best PSVR game, because it's just that Souls like
You had
Diablo
so much
experience.
you had so much credibility until that last line. So much. Everybody was like, "Yes, yes, AJ,
Almost,
preach," and then everyone was like, "Whoa, hold on a second, hold on, number one." I was kidding.
That last line of what he said there is actually kind of how I feel about Madison. Madison
Ah, Jesus,
is
God damn it!
it's a
Miles.
horror game, and it's the scariest, most disturbing game that I've ever played.
Yep.
But even outside of the scare factor of it, the storytelling is incredible. The environments are maybe the most realistic out of any environments on the PlayStation VR2. And then it's a really, really good puzzle game on top of that. Like the puzzles are top notch. They're just enough to stump you for a little while, but eventually you get it, right? So it's got to be Madison for me here. And like we said before, if it was maybe a bit more accessible to the general public and had a little bit less kind of interaction jank with it, it might be my number one overall pick.
Interesting. This
is
those points though.
This is really, really tough. I mean, to sum up how good Legendary Tales is, when we actually had the review copy before launch, I probably got up to like level 35, 40, and then we were told like 2 days before they were wiping our characters. And it was said as such like, oh, and by the way, you'll be reset back to zero. I was like, oh, excuse me. And, that sometimes happens. As soon as it reset, went back in and grinded all the way back up to the top again, because it's just that damn good. So many mechanics, so many worlds. I do feel there are some slight pacing issues in the early part of the game, but it's an amazing game, and I just think the first few locations are a bit too similar, but the game really does open up incredible bosses, and you just feel this real sense of driving forward because it's just wonderful. And for me personally, playing with friends has been an absolute joy in that. And as AJ said, playing with randoms. Madison, obviously I've not played anywhere near the 60 to 100 hours I've done with Legendary Tales. And so that would be one hell of a statement. Madison, I just feel is I've always said is like this. It's this breaking point or this watershed moment for VR horror. It is the like most intense and atmospheric thing. You feel so immersed. You feel like you're in that world. Without going into spoilers, there is a moment where you start getting headaches in the game, and when you do, your headset is rumbling, as well as getting the 3D audio, the sound in your head, and your vision's going blurry. Jesus Christ, that is so incredible. Like, that is just such brilliant use of the VR stuff. So this is a really tough one for me. I think like Madison speaks to me more, even though that's a weird thing for me to say about a horror game, just because of the story and what they've done, and I've been super hyped for it for a long time. But when it comes to like which is the better get, oh man, this is tough. I'm gonna go with Legendary Tales, but it's real tough for me.
Let me add one more thing here. The big separator, the biggest separator I can find here is because is that Legendary Tales is an actual proven system seller. People were going out and buying PSVR 2s for Legendary Tales. Madison VR is like a must experience game. Like, you have to experience, like, even if you don't like horror, like Miles, look at what it's done for him. He doesn't even like horror games, and like even he loves this game too. So that is like a testament. But the big separating factor for me here is like Legendary Tales is so good, it is worth buying a PSVR 2 and for which people were doing, playing with their friends, playing with their significant others, playing with their kids. That game has really done something special, and basically the team sacrificed their company in order to make it, and that makes it incredibly special. And I think not only is it better, deserves to be higher on the list than Madison here, I think it deserves to be the highest on this bracket. And that is the last I will say.
And I'll add one more thing too, and that is that Legendary Tales is great as the story is in it. It's completely 100% fiction, but with Madison, as we all know, Blue Knees is real.
Yeah, just to get my 2 cents, I guess. Legendary Tales it's overwhelming, man. Like I got in and was like, I just don't know like how much of this I'm going to be able to like learn and comprehend. And man, like the more I played, like I took my time, especially like you guys don't even know how it was before launch. Like there was no signposting really. Like things were set up and you like just kind of figure out how to go fucking do shit. And even with that, the way things were, the more I played, the more I was like, okay, now that I've like gone through another dungeon and now that I've come back and I really want to like level some shit up, like I really kind of like pushed myself to learn stuff that otherwise I probably wouldn't have cared about. And so it just the game got deeper and deeper and deeper as I went. I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more without all the signposting, to be honest with you. And I know that not everyone agrees with me on this, but I enjoyed my time playing Legendary Tales single player just as much as I enjoyed it with friends. I know there's a lot of people out there who disagree with that statement, but for me personally, I was like, sometimes I just wanted to go grind. No mission in mind. Mm-hmm. Just like I don't want to go and beat the next boss. I just want to make sure that I can go grind. And so the next time I meet up with AJ or Miles or Wes, and we do tackle that next boss, I'm gonna be able to carry my weight. No one's gonna be like carrying me through the battle. And so there was a lot of that for me, like just to make sure that next time I saw you guys, like I was leveled up and like really like had to learn some new skills. And then you beat the game and you go, oh, there's like a million ways I could have played this. I could use magic and there's all these different types of magic you can learn, or you can just be you can just use your fists and like be a brawler. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I can't believe all the stuff that's in there. You guys know how much I love Madison. Madison VR is like maybe my favorite horror game of all time. It's definitely the scariest horror game I've ever played in VR. And I'm still going to go with Legendary Tales on this one.
And just to read the $5 super chat from Magnum Gaming, who makes, I think, actually the best point, better than any of the points we've made, says, in Legendary Tales, you can parry fireballs with your meat, cook it that way, as in like on meat on a stick, and eat it with one swoop. It's very true, and I think you get a trophy for that as well. I mean, there's not many games that, if any, that can say that you can parry fireballs with your meat. I mean, I'm surprised that wasn't the state of play marketing.
That should be definitely a box cover. But
yeah,
and there's 10 different save slots that you can have, and there's an expert or a a new game plus mode.
Yeah.
Dude,
and the legendary weapons. The legendary weapons are so badass. I had this staff that you charge up, you slam it into the floor, and it does a shockwave, sets everyone on fire. It just feels so badass. But yeah,
the new hammer I've gotten is amazing.
I just want to make sure this doesn't go unnoticed because we skipped ahead in the tips.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's all good. I just want to make sure we don't skip it permanently. Patty Cat with the $5 said, great show as always. Join us for some casual Gran Turismo 7 racing once the stream ends. Lobby will be Game Cats. More info on Discord. If you're not a member of our Discord, what are you doing with your life? Okay, I'm picking Legendary Tales. We all agree, right?
Yes.
3 of you do.
Right. System seller.
I'll take it. Okay, now we got Legendary Tales versus Red Matter 1/2.
And that was Patty. That was Patty Cat's first ever super chat. So thank you.
I'll be quick here. I gotta go Legendary Tales again for the reasons mentioned above. Mm-hmm. It's not very often we get huge, full length like games with tons of depth and content that are also really high quality. And it's a system seller game. Yeah. And I will say Legendary Tales. Love Red Matter 2, though.
This is tough. I'd never played Red Matter, the first one, and I started playing Red Matter 2 when it came out, and then I sort of put it on hold, hoping number 1 would come out. Went back to 1, loved it, and by the end of when Red Matter 2, I got to the very end, I had this real sense of I'm so glad I've played this game. It genuinely felt special, like it was all encompassing, hadn't overstayed its welcome, and so it feels nice and tight and conclusive. Legendary Tales is just massive and so epic and great, and so these are really difficult games to compare.
You know who else is nice and tight and conclusive?
Oh, Blue Knees.
Yes, that's where I was going with that for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, this is so difficult because both of them also showcase they're games that when you play them, you're like, I can see the future of VR in these games. The massive expanse and the world building. I am gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Red Matter.
Wow.
So one of each. Wes, did you vote yet?
Yeah, Red Matter.
It's really, really hard for me to. I mean, the fact that I just voted for Legendary Tales over Madison makes it really, really hard for me to pick Red Matter over Legendary Tales this time. It's like I think I like Madison more than I like Red Matter, no matter how great Red Matter is. And so I've got to go with Legendary Tales, which means that we're split. Do we give this one to the chat?
Chat,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the chat.
All right.
It's a good one for the chat.
It is.
Their first poll.
It's the first poll. Well, yeah, we were definitely trying to, not make this a 7-hour stream. So,
Let's support democracy. Democracy.
all right, you guys, you only got a minute to decide. So,
Can any of us vote, or do we not vote in this?
yeah, whatever. You can vote.
Okay.
One,
I guess it's
two.
not going to make a big difference if we all vote, but
Whoa,
All right.
that's not
1
how
minute,
you talk
starting
about
now.
democracy. Every vote counts.
Right. Let's see how it's doing already. Legendary Tale, solid lead here with already 40 votes. Not too bad, guys. Not too bad.
I saw the chat. The chat was just Legendary Tales, LT
Yeah.
for a long distance. So
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
But it is yeah.
Whoa, the gap is closing though. The gap is
Yeah.
closing.
What I like about the poll is it's one vote, one account. So let me just sign in. Let me sign into my other 10.
I really just have to use the logic of would I buy a PSVR 2 for Red Matter 2? No, but I would for Legendary Tales. And that's the big difference. That's the only logical conclusion when comparing two drastically different games. I mean, one's a 5 to 6 hour
Sure.
sci-fi puzzle adventure, which is of the highest quality, but it's a 5 to 6 hour sci-fi puzzle adventure. You don't spend $500 on something like that. You can spend $500 on something for a 300 hours RPG that, like I said, for me, Legendary Tales is kind of like the Bloodborne. If you're going against Legendary Tales is kind of like going against Bloodborne, and you just don't do that.
60% of the votes, Legendary Tales takes it. Thank you, chat, for helping us out. We appreciate it as always.
Makes me proud. Makes me proud to be a part of this community.
Listen, I
Don't
appreciate.
ask me to explain why, but it just does.
I appreciate your argument, AJ, but yeah, I mean, last gen Separation was one of my favorite games on PSVR 1, and I don't think anybody would ever buy a headset for that. But I just fucking loved everything about that game. The environments, the puzzles, music, the whole thing. Yeah. So, Madison VR versus Red Matter 1 and 2. Easy for me, Madison.
I mean, it's basically two really high quality games. One's just a horror. One's a.
Gee, I wonder what decided it for me.
Damn, I had Madison higher on my list, but man, it's not as easy as it sounds.
It's not as hard as you're making it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Madison here because again, it's the other things. It's the storytelling It's the things that the strengths of the game, not so much the weaknesses. It's what they prioritized with the
The
game.
immersion, the immersiveness of this is off the charts.
Yeah. It's a memorable. I mean, both are very memorable, but yeah, Madison, as scary as it is, like it's like one of the scariest games you can ever, one of the scariest experiences you can ever have. And I've got to, yeah, I'm also a fan of horror, so I'm gonna go Madison.
Just need one more for Madison to make it happen. Unless Wes, did you already vote?
Voted, unless that's not obvious. Yeah, I'm Madison all the way here.
Miles, just out of curiosity, what would you have said if you weren't outvoted?
It's interesting when we go through this section, and I like that because I learned this from Wes when we did it 2 top 25s ago, which was it'd be very easy to go, well, I had this higher on my top 25 list, so I just go with that. But I do like just heading them off. So Madison was lower on my list, but when I think about it, like head to head like this, I probably would go for Madison.
Yep. All right.
Because Red Matter always felt like a very immersive experience, and it is. I feel like I'm on the moon at one point in the ship, but Madison has really taken immersion to a whole new level.
Well, how do we feel about Walkabout Mini Golf versus Red Matter?
Red Matter.
I'm gonna go Red Matter here. I love Walkabout. The only thing that, like, if Walkabout had like a texture, like redid the textures and the graphical overhaul, so to really take advantage of stronger hardware, like it'd be a no-brainer. Like probably be top 5 for me, but that's like literally the only criticism. I love everything else about it, other than it looks like a high quality Quest game.
I vote Walkabout.
I vote Walkabout as well. Time to put it to the chat.
Chat.
Walkabout
Gonna
versus
go
Red
on
Matter.
a walkabout and find out what it's all about. Yep,
This will be interesting.
indeed.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
feel like it's
very
going to go
interesting.
you couldn't.
I don't know.
2 extremely different games, and
Yeah.
it's like I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
I would love Walkabout to release a Madison VR map.
1 minute starting now. Let's go. Oh my god, how right? Because their scary Halloween one was kind of like, like kids haunted house type Halloween.
Yeah,
I would.
I want them
terrifying
to
one.
make. I want a Walkabout mini golf course where it's just kids crying to their parents. Why did you put me through this? What's Bloonies?
Be great. Would be really great.
If you get caught by Bloonies, you have to go back to hole 1.
You get to like hole 18 and there's like no hole, and so you have to take a picture and like
Yeah.
based on the picture, you got to put it where you think it is.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we definitely created something great just now.
By the way, did you guys?
Pretty close,
Did
you
you
guys.
guys?
Vote.
Did you guys see the upcoming update to Walkabout Mini Golf?
No, because it's not there yet.
Yes, and everyone should be excited,
Cannot confirm
Oh,
nor
right.
deny.
right? Okay, we got.
Is it a public thing, Wes, or no?
All right, guys, 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Oh, it's so close. It's so
Is
close,
it publicly
but
known?
Red Matter has taken it.
You chose wisely, chat.
All right. I'll go
Yeah, the
back to
Galaxy
this.
Kart Walkabout mini golf course is going to be sick.
All right, shout
What?
out-
I changed my vote. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Red Matter takes that one. Walkabout versus Synapse. Is this the first time Synapse has come up in this?
Yeah, I was
What's going
wondering what it
on?
was.
All right. I gotta say Walkabout, and only because listen, both of these games are getting ranked very highly because they both deserve to be ranked very highly. So when it comes down to this, it's like, what does one have? What does the other one not have? And really, man, Walkabout Mini Golf has so much content, and I think that's the deciding factor for me here. Walkabout.
I think the deciding factor for me here is which one feels more like a PSVR2 experience. And again, the graphics are the only thing that hold back Walkabout for me, which is, I hate to sound like that, but that's the experience overall. Like Synapse, even with the lack of, even with the lack of content, the experience was like truly next gen feeling. Walkabout it's a great game, but it doesn't feel like a next gen experience to me.
Right.
So I'm going to have to go with Synapse here.
Yeah. Well, one is a basic, very good casual multiplayer game, and the other does things that have never been done before in video games ever.
So you're voting for Walkabout? Synapse got it. Miles.
Oh man, this is tough. Because I would have at the start of this today easily gone with Walkabout because it was very high on my list. But there have been some very compelling arguments made by my fellow without parolees. I'm going to go with Synapse or Synapse. I'll go for both of them.
All right.
I'm going to go for both of them. So that's
five votes for Synapse. All right. Excellent. Holy crap. Synapse only had to come up once for that to work. I don't even understand how this thing works. Okay.
Fake news.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So let's see here. Number 10, Walkabout Mini Golf. Number 9, Synapse. Number 8, Red Matter. And then we just got to switch these two because
maybe it was because Synapse was like so low with Walkabout. It didn't matter how many more it won against, it wouldn't have overtaken. So it was just like deciding the bottom two.
7, Madison VR, which is a great place for it. 6, Legendary Tales, great place for it.
Yeah, we did it. No.
All right.
Damn, that is so tricky. But I feel really good about this.
Yeah.
Did you repeat that for me again, Brian?
Yes, sir. We got 10, Walkabout Mini Golf. 9, Synapse. 8, Red Matter 1 and 2. 7, Madison VR. 6, Legendary Tales.
All right, great. Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Now, before we get to this section, I just want to ask, how do we feel about maybe getting Legendary Tales into the top 1 through 5 bracket?
That's after.
I feel like if we want to make No Man's Sky a ride or die, that could happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Great Resident Evil Village, Gran Turismo, RE4 Remake, No Man's Sky, and then we got Saints and Sinners.
It does make me think Capcom needs to stop making games, or else the top 5 will just be Capcom VR games.
Dude, I mean, if Resident Evil 9 comes along and has VR support, oh Jesus, yeah, this is gonna be
totally fine with that.
pretty crazy.
It just goes to show you how important funding is.
Yeah.
To
Absolutely.
quality of the game.
Guys, really quick shout out over here in the tips. Twitcher the Deuce Juice Game Cat with the 2 quid said this one's for Andrew Ehrenreich, who can't tip. Oh, Andrew.
Oh.
Also, thank you, Twitcher. That was very sweet of you. All right, guys. The first ones that come up: Gran Turismo versus No Man's Sky.
Damn, I gotta go with Gran Turismo. And
100%.
Yeah, Gran
It's
Turismo was my number 1 just because I talk in the past about a few games of like this feels like the future of VR. Like Gran Turismo still, and I think it is helped, as I always talk about, when it goes from flat screen to then in it. Every time you feel that sense of holy shit, I am here, and it's
I still die a little bit on the inside when I think about that Gran Turismo was never featured on like a state of play or a showcase of having VR support, like the VR mode.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm still just like, ugh.
It was that
So
Vegas
frustrating.
event, wasn't it?
It was like
like a 15-second. Like,
Okay.
it's coming.
that nobody watches. There never was on a state of play or anything. Baffles me. But
Listen, I've been playing video
Jesus.
games for 40 plus years, right? I've always said when it comes to racing games, I'm sorry, Mr. McAllister, you had a question? No. Okay. I've been saying for 40 years, it's a Home Alone joke, AJ.
Oh,
Yeah.
I missed him
Sweet.
doing that.
Okay.
That's what
For 40 years, I've been saying I've been loving arcade racers, starting with like Outrun back in the day, or maybe even some stuff before that on the C64. I mean, Ridge Racer, Burnout. These are the games that I've loved, right? Racing sims, I'm like, psh, go fuck yourself. I even bought the original Gran Turismo on PlayStation 1 and been like, yeah, there's a lot here, but there's like, it's too much for me, man, and I'm just not interested in getting this into the nitty gritty when it comes to like, oh, we're gonna race slow cars and then, learn how to take corners properly. It's like, this isn't fun for me. Everything changed the moment I played that game in VR, Gran Turismo 7. Everything changed. And I suddenly started caring about racing sims, started caring about my garage. I started caring about, it got even here and there into, some of the stats, right? And just changing little percentages here and there to make my car work a little bit better for the race that I was on. And like, the only thing I'm sad about really is that like my racing rig is under a pile of stuff right now. And that I haven't had a chance to get back to Gran Turismo in like months. The last time I got into it was the snow stuff. And dude, it just made me realize again, all over, I know, right? All over again, how much I love that game. It's one of the best VR games I've ever played, period.
Yeah.
There's just two features that stop it from being perfect, in my opinion. But if they fix them, I want it so when you turn your head, it turns the heads in game. So when you're driving and overtaking someone, you can be looking at each other.
Yep.
That would be amazing. And also, I want there to be tournaments like Galaxy Kart. So, GT7 could learn a thing or two about Galaxy Kart. A phrase I never thought I'd hear myself saying.
Yeah. Are we all in agreement then? We're going Gran Turismo.
Yeah, Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
There was no question. I just wanted to make sure it got the respect it deserved. Saints and Sinners versus RE4 Remake.
Oh.
It's Saints and Sinners for me, I think. Saints and Sinners 2, there's so much game there and so much depth with the ability to replay the levels at night now.
Yeah.
Like the first chapter 1, and I know this is chapter 1 and chapter 2 together. The first one was great because it lets you, move at your own pace. But after a certain amount of time, you were just grinding for no reason, grinding just to grind.
True.
But there's so much more progression in this, so much more to unlock and craft. The secrets are more well hidden in the map now, and the game itself is just more robust on every level. So yeah, I think The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution is probably overall, all around, the best game in the VR catalog, all platforms.
Wow.
As of today.
That's a massive statement.
Yeah.
Listen,
not number one on my list, by the way. I put my favorite at the top, but
I got to say, man, like honestly, before you started talking, I was like, oh, clearly Resident Evil 4 Remake. And like, I love RE4 Remake. There's so much replayability there. You can actually get the platinum in the game, but there's a lot of stuff that pulls you out of the VR stuff, which I don't actually mind. But it when you're like, which one of these is VRAF? And it's Saints and Sinners all the way, right? 1 and 2, just absolutely VRAF. It's tough, man. It's really, really tough. And I didn't think this was going to be as tough of a conversation as it's becoming in my mind right now. I don't even want to vote yet. I want to hear what you guys have to say, Miles. And
so I love RE4, and I definitely need to spend more time with it, admittedly. But I feel like, and the reason why I have 8 over 4, 2 by the way, is because you can feel that game's age. You can tell it's a remake of an older game. Like there are things, like a lot got updated, but some things didn't, and you can absolutely feel that in VR. It's immersion breaking. So that's why it kind of falls a little bit for me here.
I know I just said I wanted to hear from AJ and Miles, but like, I hate escort missions so much. I really do. And like that really brought it down for me, especially since I sucked at those missions. Like a lot of times when I did things the wrong way, right? I was just like, I didn't recognize certain things that I should have been doing to make it a little bit easier for me. And so then it became like a much bigger struggle than it should have been. And that's on me, but that was my experience with it. Right. So, yeah, that brings it down a notch for me. I just hate escort missions. And I hate this. The story's so silly in Resident Evil games. Love the characters. The stories are so ridiculous.
All right, look. Saints and Sinners is a VR benchmark title. It literally like the way they innovate everything, I feel like I've always described as Skydance Interactive as just being ones that just get it. I think Resident Evil 4 actually has more flaws and more issues with it. I have issues with some of the design choices. I have issues with some of the flaws that it has. The stuff like the third person, while not like a deal breaker or anything, I do mind about those. Those do bother me. But I was still able to get through them. And yeah, like there's little gameplay flaws here and there that really bothered me about Resident Evil 4. That being said, I still feel like the good experiences from it still still kind of put it ahead, despite Saints and Sinners being a less flawed game. And so I'm going to go with Resident Evil 4.
Mr. Dyer.
So Resident Evil 4, I have so much fun with, and it takes you back to my early days of playing the Resident Evil games and how I had a real love for Resident Evil Nemesis. It was much more action-based, and obviously that's what Resident Evil 4 is. This VR game was my first experience of the Resident Evil 4 story, and I definitely still have a lot more to play with it, but I'm having a great time with it. I think it feels great. For me, this would be a much easier choice if Resident Evil 4 didn't have to make the concessions that they ended up having to do in development in terms of the switching from VR perspectives to flat screen. That doesn't say it's a terrible VR game. I think it's a phenomenal VR game, even with those changes. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, both those games, for the reasons already mentioned, the second one improves in so many ways, and it has been a benchmark for VR. One of the issues I always had with Walkabout with The Walking Dead was the stamina system often made me feel a bit too grounded and sluggish, and I never enjoyed it. But the scavenging and looking around, and obviously everything they add with the nighttime cycle in the second one is phenomenal. And so this isn't an easy one for me. But I do think it would have been easier if Resident Evil 4 had ticked all those things that I'd mentioned. So for this, The Walking Dead is going to get my vote.
Listen, I've said a bunch of things that knock RE4 down a little bit for me. But man, I still loved it. It's such a good time. Yep.
The gunplay as like the VR gunplay is really, really good, really, really immersive. There's so many fun cinematic moments in it. And yeah, like they had to make some sacrifices for the VR mode. But if that's what it took to get like every single game, like I'd take that all
100%
every day.
That doesn't help us in this question though. And guess what? I'm voting for Resident Evil. So we're about to take a poll here. Which is better?
This will be a good poll.
You know who loves to take a poll?
Hey.
Wes, I don't tell you this enough, but I fucking love you. I don't tell AJ enough either, but there's a good reason for that. That was supposed to be funny. I love AJ too. Okay. Saints Sinners 1, 2, or Resident Evil. On your market, set, go. 1 minute. Let's do this.
Here we go.
Yeah, both of these are.
He logs
S-tier
into
games,
5
though.
different accounts. Tiffany grabbing her phone and her iPad.
Getting the team on.
Dude, can you imagine what's going to happen when Behemoth comes out? If Behemoth is even remotely, if it's even 1/10 the Shadow of the Colossus game I want it to be in VR, which I'm sure is going to be more than 1/10. I mean, this is really going to shake things up, I think, next time around.
And by the way, Brian, yesterday I got the green light, or was it Thursday? I got the green light to share my footage now.
Amazing. Thanks.
Yeah.
Skydance, like a week late.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I laid that guilt trip on them since Eurogamer got to do it.
Yeah.
And it took them a little while to get back to me, but they did. And we're going to show it tonight.
Woohoo!
on Strangers in the Night.
Everybody go subscribe to Wes's channel, Virtual Strangers. Make sure while you're subscribing to the channel, subscribe to AJ, subscribe to Miles. All the links are in the description below. And
I'll be
also join our
posting-
Discord.
I'll be posting my 4.5-minute video of all of my jump scare compilation from Madison VR.
Amazing.
It's literally just 4 minutes of me going, ah!
I'm all for it.
All right, you guys. Resident Evil Remake took it with 58% of the votes.
Awesome.
All right. Now that brings us to Gran Turismo versus Resident Evil Village. The first time we've had this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, last time I was actually I actually went with Resident Evil Village, and I jumped back into Resident Evil Village lately, and dude, it's still like, to me, it's still the best Resident Evil VR game on PSVR 2, especially. But yeah, like, again, Gran Turismo. I'll tell you what was the big game changer for me. I mean, Gran Turismo is like, the more you play it, the better it gets, and like, it just the more, I don't know, it's so weird with Gran Turismo. Like, it just gets better the more you play, the more you explore it, and you still get surprises here and there from it. And then, but the biggest game changer for me is this weekly races thing, where now it's like I have a reason, and I'm rewarded every single week I jump in to this game, on top of just wanting to play it. There's an actual live thing that changes with it because of it, between new content, new tracks, new vehicles, that each one is like a different experience. So Resident Evil Village is like almost a perfect game. But for me, Gran Turismo, at the end of the day, if I could only have one game on PSVR 2, it would have to be Gran Turismo. And I think it's just that good. It is that much of a difference maker, or not difference maker, but I think Gran Turismo is so good. If I could only choose one PSVR 2 game, it would be Gran Turismo. And that's saying something.
I think difference maker is right, and that was the biggest reason why I actually struggled with this one, because I think as time has worn on since our last debate, I think Gran Turismo has very firmly established itself as the biggest high-profile title on the platform. That's the system seller. That's the one that everyone in the general public talks about the most, and with good reason, right? I mean, it's the best racing game, and racing's a very popular genre inside of and outside of VR. So it made me think really hard about making that my number one. But at the end of the day, I had to go with what I felt was the best and what I enjoyed the most, and that's still to this day Resident Evil Village.
I think Village is the Resident Evil game on PSVR 2 with the better VR implementation. It doesn't have trophy support, which really blows. Killed the replay for me. I mean, I still had a blast playing through it once, but like I didn't feel that inclined to play through it again. I did, but like I wasn't like, oh, making progress on something here. You know, it's just like blasting through cutscenes. And but however, between RE4 and Resident Evil Village, I don't think there's any denying that Village is a million times better when it comes to boss fights. Every boss fight is fucking epic, and I was kind of disappointed by most of them in RE4. So I think these are the two games that, you know, are duking it out for number one and number two for me, and I still have to go with Gran Turismo.
And just a side note, Resident Evil Village is still good to go back and revisit, if I didn't make that clear earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gran Turismo 7 is like next level in terms of depth and content.
You know what my big problem with it is, AJ, is the main character. There's just no imagination put into. I'm sorry. I'm
You talking about Gran Turismo?
Yeah. I've said most of what I was going to say about Gran Turismo 7 anyway, and it's just adding on to this thing about when we talk about system sellers. I've always been into racing, like from time to time growing up, and it all depends on the game. Whether it's arcade racers, if it's the really arcadey like Nintendo 64 Diddy Kong Racing. But then I remember having a Formula One, I think 95 or 97 on the original PlayStation. But it's not one of those games that I come back to every year. And I have owned, I think, one or two Gran Turismos in the past. But I do remember Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 1, and to have it like with this technology is mind-blowing. And knowing people that are massive driving enthusiasts, they're people that spend the most obscene, they'd argue it's a fine amount of money, on their rig setups. And even if you look online for what like a simulation setup would be, where you would have to have like 3 monitors in front of you, it costs thousands and thousands. And so for a value proposition of buying a PS5 and a PSVR2, as AJ was saying, like for just one game, this is like such an amazing value proposition when you think of all the tracks, all the environments, all the different game modes, all the cars with interiors. And every time they add to this game, which everyone always would think it's for the flat screen, no, they're adding it for VR as well. Like there is complete and utter parity. And GT7, I think, is gonna hold the test of time for this entire era of VR gaming. Oh, and sorry, if it wasn't clear, I vote GT7.
So that's 1-3, right?
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Resident Evil.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky versus Resident Evil Village. I do want to say I saw Baron's comment in the chat saying that he thought that No Man's Sky was too niche of a game, too niche of a genre of a game, I guess, to be here. But I do want to point out that we're talking about a top 5 that consists of horror games, that consists of a space exploration game, a racing sim. I do think that somehow all of the best games for the platform turned out to be somewhat in a niche category. So I think this is absolutely fair. And some of us don't get No Man's Sky. We don't understand what the appeal is. Like I know I need to get back in there. I know it. But when I get back in there and see how beautiful it is and say, there's just so much to fucking do, and know that everybody I know has spent hundreds of hours in No Man's Sky. That with every update, it's just gotten better and better and better throughout the years. And again, just like Gran Turismo, like all these updates available to play in VR. It's really hard not to give No Man's Sky the recognition that it deserves, whether you play it or not. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm still voting for Village. Don't get me wrong. So like, because Gran Turismo and Village are my 1 and 2. I almost don't care what order they're in. But No Man's Sky, I do want to say that I respect, and I love that it's here in the top 5 bracket.
So was No Man's Sky even on our list last time we did one of these?
I don't think. Yeah. Had it gotten It's been a while since we've done one of these, and I don't think
25.
I've
got it.
It had.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got it from November last year. No Man's Sky was number. Actually, I haven't got the final list, but it was definitely on there.
Okay. When did they implement the DFR patch?
Yeah, that was like I think over the summer or something, and then they did another graphical update where No Man's Sky now is literally like graphically pretty much perfect. I mean, as perfect as it can be for how much game there is. And yeah, I mean, it's so it's obviously, it gives you infinite space exploration with base building. There is plenty of stuff that you can do to kind of like follow along, to like, kind of like learn all the systems and everything. And it is like kind of a sandbox, but it gives you a little bit of everything. And this game is just to the point where it's like one of the most mind-blowing, like immersive experiences. I don't know if there is a hybrid title that was not originally, built with VR in mind, that had VR implementation executed as good as this. It feels like it is a true, like, feels built for the ground up for VR. It is a true hybrid title that wasn't originally intended to be, which is pretty mind-blowing. And yeah, like from everything from like, racing dune buggies to seeing like sandworms and stuff. It just has some of the best exploration that you could ever have in a game, and it's a game that you can literally like live in. I mean, we're talking about these. These are why these are these S tier games, is because stuff like Gran Turismo and No Man's Sky are games that I can literally play for the rest of my life and enjoy, and find something new to do. So it's incredible what this how much content this game offers, um, and it's amazing. That being said, I'm still gonna vote for Resident Evil here, uh, uh, because it may not have as much content, but it is Resident Evil Village was also designed with VR in mind, and really achieved something incredibly special, which is taking like a AAA flagship title, and then not making the sacrifices that Resident Evil 4 did, where it's like all the cutscenes are in, most of the cutscenes, like 95% of them are like in first person VR, and do the storytelling that way. And like you said, I mean, I love the boss fights. The I love the VRAF features that it has. Like if you get killed in Resident Evil 7, instead of like a flat animation screen like cinema screen, it like literally keeps you in first person for those deaths and everything. And I love how complete of an experience it is, and high quality. And yeah, so Resident Evil Village, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I agree. RE, for me.
Yeah, and it's RE Village for me as well.
Fantastic. All right, guys. We got Gran Turismo versus RE4 Remake. I feel like I could be wrong, but I think we've discussed both of these games at length at this point.
Yeah.
The highs and the lows. And I'm going with Gran Turismo.
Gran
I
Turismo.
agree.
What was it? What was the other game?
You just voted for Gran Turismo over RE4 Remake.
Okay, yeah.
Now we got RE Village
That is
versus RE4 Remake. Again, we've talked about both these at length. I do think that, the highs of each game are very high, and what they kind of excel in different ways from each other. I've already said that the Village not having platinum trophy support or trophy support was definitely a downer. Killed the replay value for me. But the boss battles more than make up for it in my book, as and the first person perspective, the VRAF elements. I think I got to go with Village here. This is my one or two, along with Gran Turismo.
A lot of people, a lot of people are going to be divided here, because RE4 has that replay value.
Yeah.
Which it has better replay value than Village. But again, the flaws of RE4, I think RE4 is easily the better flat screen game, like not even close. But I think something about the way that Village was designed for VR, designed with VR in mind, I feel like it gives it the edge here. So I'm gonna have to vote for Village.
So who was it? Baba Jai or Baba G in chat says, "Okay, I'm going to get Village." Awesome! Congratulations! Enjoy.
We all vote for? Did we all vote Village?
I don't think Miles voted yet. Did you, Miles?
No, I haven't, but I'd go with that. I mean, I had RE4 higher on my list, and it was just because RE4 I enjoyed more, from what I've played of both of them. But these are games that I'm going to let you guys definitely. Well, obviously I'm forced to now with the voting, but I was always going to let you guys take the lead on this because you guys have a much better understanding of the two than me.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
RE4 does have some better things about it, but I think just as a complete package, I feel like Village is better.
Yep. Agreed.
A better VR game.
It's Lex Luger. Total package.
RE4 versus No Man's Sky.
4. RE4.
I'm gonna actually go down swinging here and say No Man's Sky, because again, better VR implementation and just insanely immersive from start to finish. Well, there is no finish from start. And you can ride dinosaurs or creatures. You can adopt pets. There's so much more you can do in No Man's Sky, but again, I'm just gonna make this short and sweet and say No Man's Sky, even though I'm probably gonna lose this one.
I'm going to say RE4. Miles?
I'd be saying No Man's Sky, so I look forward to the poll.
Here we go.
Oh
Chizzy.
shit!
Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't. Again, there's really no wrong answer here. They're both.
A lot of
I'm
love.
so-
Man,
They're
Scott,
both
with
super-
that.
here.
I'm super hyped to see how this goes.
1 minute.
I
Everybody
pro-
vote. Let's do this.
I would be
It pro-
shocked if No Man's Sky wins.
Yeah.
I would be too.
It probably
But-
will be RE4.
But I would certainly feel better about it. No Man's Sky is just, the space exploration. I could literally just sit out in my ship in space for an hour, just chilling there, being immersed.
Dude, the early votes have it
Is-
way closer than I would have expected. We're up to 65 votes and it's 46% No Man's Sky.
I think this could be one of the closest ones, but we'll see. It's around 100 votes, I think. We get.
I think it's pretty incredible. No Man's Sky has come so far.
Yeah.
This is the best supported title in history. Flat or VR.
History, yeah.
All right, we got 20
And it's
more
all
seconds.
been free updates. All free updates.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 is pulling ahead. I don't think No Man's Sky can come back. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. 95 votes, 95 votes, 98 votes. That's it, guys. That's
Nice.
it. Resident Evil 4 takes it.
That's super cool.
As expected.
I
brings
like
us
it.
to-
It was just interesting to see the balance, though.
Which brings us to No Man's Sky versus Saints and Sinners.
And down.
Saints and Sinners for me.
Yeah, it's such a preference thing for me. Like in terms of just like what I've enjoyed more. Obviously, I understand the scope of No Man's Sky, but I got to go with Saints and Sinners as well.
Okay, cool. I don't even have to vote. I like this.
Good point. Good point. All right, where the hell is it? I keep losing the window.
I think that's it, man. I think that's it.
Saints and Sinners takes it, and that gives us our result. Let's put these in the proper order. No Man's Sky, that's 5. Saints and Sinners, 4. RE4 Remake, 3. RE Village, 2. Number 1, Gran Turismo 7. Ah! Oh my god.
So
job, you
read
guys.
from the top now.
All right, here we go. Starting from 25, Puzzling Places, 24, Galaxy Kart, 23, Runner, 22, Light Brigade, so happy to see that there, 21, Demio, 20, Stilt, 19, Ancient Dungeon, 18, Switchback, 17, Pavlov, 16, Horizon, 15, Vertigo 2, 14, Hellsweeper, 13, VR Skater, this is a good list, 12, it's like my list, Crossfire Sierra Squad, 11, Moss Book 1 and 2, 10, Walkabout Mini Golf, 9, Synapse, 8, Red Matter Series, 7, Madison VR, 6, Legendary Tales, 5, No Man's Sky, 4, Saints and Sinners Series, 3, Resident Evil 4, 2, Resident Evil Village, and 1, Gran Turismo 7.
I love it.
I do too.
And it kind of reinforces how I felt going into this, and well done, everyone, was that there's a lot of games on this list that weren't on mine, and I was gutted not including mine, and I'm glad they have made it on here, and it's just why I'm glad we do it this way. Really, really good.
Yep.
Really
And
solid.
just for an honorable mention, Propagation Paradise Hotel,
Mhm.
Song in the Smoke, Beat Saber, Knock, The Seventh Guest VR, Genotype, Vampire the Masquerade Justice, Hubris, Tetris Effect Connected, Cosmo Dread, Zombieland, Headshot Fever Reloaded, Arizona Sunshine 2, Barbaria, Ghost Signal, a Stellaris game, Breachers, Green Hell VR, Cube VR, and Cosmonius High. All great
so
games.
many great games. Absolutely. I'm going to change my rider
And Koi Koi. And Koi Koi. Koi Koi as well. It was a,
Quickly.
Guys, thank you so much. I'm so proud of us for doing this in less than 7 hours.
Oh my God! Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord, and also thank you, Looper the Game Cat, because he was an endless amount of help getting this set up. I actually think that if
well
I
done,
listened to
Looper.
more of his suggestions, we could have done this even faster, more efficiently. But I do like the way we did this. I feel like we get to talk about all these games. We get to compare quite a few of them, and I think that
Good balance.
this might have been the most efficient way and in the most entertaining way we've done it so far without any bloodshed. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a good balance of debate and process, right?
yep.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for
Not
being
always,
here.
yeah.
We love you so very much. I'll be working on an edited version of this, so no one has to sit through 3.5 hours to see the list. But I'll be working on an edited version of this, and it should be out hopefully by Gamescast on Wednesday. But we just want to thank you to everybody who's here. Thanks to everybody who supported the stream with not only your donations, like we appreciate that for sure, but everybody who voted. You really helped us make some hard decisions. So we love you guys so very much. Thank you again, Looper. Thank you, Mods. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Wes, AJ, Miles. Have a great Saturday, everybody. We love you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Wave like mad and say bye, cartooners.
Bye, cartoon.